pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'd like to take a moment of silence. We take this moment of silence for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad.
Commissioner Pennington, if I could just acknowledge also the passing of Commissioner James Bennett from Baker County, who was the current president of the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and last Monday passed away on a car accident on his way to work at Jacksonville, and just wanted to acknowledge that at this time. So my apologies for the interruption.
Oh, thank you, sir. Now we'd like to call this meeting to order December 15th, 2025 at 9 o'clock. We'll go ahead and go with some announcements, additions. Let's take a look here. Announcements. County offices will be closed December 25th and 26th for Christmas and January 1st and 2nd for New Year's. Our upcoming commission meetings include workshops and special meetings. We have a workshop Monday, January 12th at 1 p.m. And our regular meeting will only be January 12th at 5 p.m. in the month of January. Additions, deletions, and modifications to our agenda. There has been a modification to item 7H. It's now been moved to item 8D, and that's the ratification of Florida Forever Boundary Amendment application relative to the 153 acres of the floodplain within the Summertown project. That's been added and moved over to our general business so that we can discuss it. If you are here today to speak about that particular issue, if you're going to speak under comments for 8D, it has to be specific to the preservation of that application. If you want to speak about anything else, regarding Summertown or annexation, it's best to speak up front here in the community outreach, our first community outreach, which is item 5A that's coming up. So let's take a look here. Anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and start with our recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. Our first item is a recognition for the Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Saving Awards. This is presented by Chief Tucker. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Pennington. It's good to be here. Michael Tucker, Flagler County Fire Rescue. Again, it's always, an honor to come before you and to get the chance to brag about, the members of Flagler County Fire Rescue, because they do some pretty amazing stuff. Short of leaping tall buildings, they're not running speeding bullets. They are pretty amazing. We've got a couple of awards today, but unfortunately, because things are pretty busy and the other crew that's getting an award today is on duty, so getting them here was impossible. But the crew I want to recognize today is Bo Krutoff and Dominic Mercurio. And the specific incident involved a bicyclist down on the Lehigh Trail. And if you know anything about the Lehigh Trail, coming at it from a lot of different directions, it's challenging. We try our best to have units go multiple places, multiple different directions, based upon what we're hearing from the 911 callers. But in this specific incident, Rescue Supervisor Krutoff and paramedic firefighter Mercurio arrived on scene with a bicyclist at the roadway at the beginning of the trail, and they were advised of a bicyclist down and CPR was being performed. Bo and Dominic placed their equipment on their stretcher and ran with the stretcher and the equipment to the patient for about a half mile. Arrived on scene and found citizen CPR being done, bystander CPR being done. They immediately began resuscitative efforts and quickly returned to spontaneous circulation, or ROSC. and they transported the patient to the hospital. There has been a successful outcome of this patient at the last that we had been reported. And so without the efforts of these two individuals in particular, this family would have been having an entirely different Christmas, this year. So, the work that they do is absolutely amazing. The life-saving award I'm going to give them, Bo Krutoff has received, I don't know, like 12, 13, 14. So he's gonna look more like an admiral, here real soon with all of these awards. But he is a rescue supervisor. Came out of our Flagler Palm Coast High School Leadership Academy, and again is serving in a leadership role within Flagler County Fire Rescue, and doing an absolutely amazing job. And Dominic just recently got married, so congratulations on that. And then also recently graduated paramedic school and is now, I believe, a cleared paramedic.
Yes, sir.
So he is actually able to function, on his own, and that is a big deal because he had to go in front of the medical director. And I will tell you, life and death is, pass or fail is much more stressful, than life or death. So he did a great job and is representing us well. So I want to go ahead and give these awards to Rescue Supervisor Bo Krutoff and paramedic firefighter Dominic Mercurio. And I'm going to do one of those last-minute pivots because I just found out that one of the individuals for the other award has made it. Lieutenant Jake Gonzalez is one of our star performers. He consistently does, a great job for us. And as you know, we have a station, Station 16, which is on Old Dixie, which physically sits in Volusia County, but we staff under a cooperative agreement with Volusia County. And so we end up running a lot of calls into Volusia County in support of them. But they got called, make sure I get all of my notes in order. They were initially dispatched to Publix for a non-emergency fall. So they were then upgraded to CPR in progress while they were en route. And the crews rapidly located the patient who had already had an AED placed with a shock delivered by Publix staff shortly before arrival. Staff members likely worthy of recognition as well, and we will work on doing that for them. Engine 16 immediately began resuscitative care and obtained a return of spontaneous circulation. Again, ROSC. Patient care was transferred to evac ambulance with Lieutenant Gonzalez attending transport to assist, in further care. And again, this one, while the crews do a great job, I want to point out the fact that both of these situations involve somebody else prior to our arrival stepping in, doing CPR, administering the AED, and taking, assertive action. So, we're a pretty significant link in the chain of survival. But the citizens learning CPR and actually knowing how to use an AED made a difference in both of these situations. They buy time until we can get on scene and do the things that we do. So I want to go ahead and give one of these awards to Lieutenant Jake Gonzalez.
All right, would you like a picture?
We would love a picture.
Okay. I'll let everybody talk after that. I know.
Yeah, that's the hard
That's
side.
his job now.
That's the hard side.
Yeah, welcome to that.
We need to get a little faster on that.
Do you have a clearing? One, two, three. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Thank you. Great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's my. Thank you.
Good job, Chief.
Outstanding. Thank you, Chief. I think everyone on this board has used the services of paramedics, and it's been, really good during a stressful situation. I've always thought every gentleman that's come out to our house has been wonderful and very caring, so we appreciate that. And Bo is here every time.
Chief, question. Regarding access and Lehigh Trail, right, nobody wants to have to carry all that equipment a half a mile, but in the design of Lehigh from Old Kings, is there access? Have we looked for your ability to be able to get a vehicle, ambulance down Lehigh, or is that the only way?
We can get them down from the Lehigh Old Dixie side. The challenge with that section of the trail is that the patient is closer to the bridge on off
Right.
of Colbert.
Right.
Then that actually, it's faster for them to try to make,
Okay.
from that direction. But we try again to come at it from multiple directions. So we'll actually dispatch units to come at it from two different directions, sort of who can get there first.
And I think, right, it brings up a good point as we continue to work on trails. I happen to be thinking about the Bulow Regional Park in the design process, and we've got a few miles of trails in there. If you could, make sure that you get with Amy and the design team. We want to make sure that we have built-in access and the ability to, wherever somebody is having an issue, be able to respond quickly.
Absolutely. It's something that's very near and dear to me because my wife and I use the trails a lot, and I
Right.
want to make sure that if I go down, they come save me.
Right, absolutely.
So,
Thank you to the crew. This is the best part of the meetings, is being able to recognize, the men and women that are doing really good life-saving work, and it's a great opportunity.
yeah, it's an honor to lead them.
Yep.
I think the other thing is we need to start looking at where to place ADDs in public buildings and sports parks and things like that, because it's obvious that they need to be just about it within reach of everyone.
Yes,
So that needs to be something we work on in the upcoming year.
we'll do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to item 5A. It's community outreach. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on this agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct the comments to the chair. As I said earlier, if you're speaking on item 8D, it has to be specific to the application. So if you have any things you'd like to discuss, on Bulow or the annexation, now would be a good time to do that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm John Tanner, an attorney representing the nonprofit Preserve Flagler Beach and Bulow Creek, Inc. I'm just going to ask or try to point out a few things about the history of what's been going on. 6.5 years ago, July 1st, 2019, the developer of the project that we're looking at here proposed a town hall. It was attended, more than 330 people were there. And by the time he got through presenting his plan, the attorney representing the developer was threatening the citizens with jail if they didn't settle down. Long and short of it is the public that was involved and heard the original plans of, I think it was 3,966 dwelling units in the properties that we're looking at, the east and west side of Bulow Creek, John Anderson Highway, bounded by Bulow Creek. And that was rejected by the public, and the project kind of went dormant for a while. That same project's backed. We need perhaps another town hall. Have people changed their mind? The developer certainly hasn't. He apparently is going forward with the plan that he proposed 6.5 years ago, or something very closely resembling that. The health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the county are certainly one of the primary concerns of this commission. And the proposed development, east and west side, Summertown, Veranda Bay, puts a genuine health and safety, welfare, quality of life, quality of the neighborhood in jeopardy, and we ask that the county closely scrutinize the plans, that they require some type of definitive travel routes that will show that both the east and west side of John Anderson will not be impacted by the population of the residents and the significantly enlarged commercial area. John Anderson is a scenic roadway designated by the state of Florida. It's a constrained road. It really can't be increased. And the only way to accommodate the proposed residents and the commercial is to have an internal roadway not dumping on John Anderson. It needs to go out to Colbert Road, Colbert Lane, and onto 100 from there. Any increase in traffic on John Anderson, which is already significantly increased with the new developments that have gone in from Roberts Road, and of course we're looking at the new one that's going in next to the interstate. We got thousands of residents proposed. We have several thousand that have already been approved, and you're getting overdeveloped. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the water capacity. The flooding that's going to be caused by filling the wetlands and the high impact it'll have on the flood zones is going to be disastrous. John Anderson was underwater for months after the last storms of this season. And that will continue, and if you're allowed to go in and fill those wetlands, it's going to flood our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Anyone else for public comment? Hey, good to see you, sir.
RJ Santori, 618 Cumberland Drive in Flagler Beach. As some of you may know, I grew up in this county in Palm Coast. I live in Flagler Beach, and my family owns a business on the west side of the county in your district, and we've been there since 1974. My whole life, all I wanted to do was move to Flagler Beach, and because it's a beautiful town and city, and want to keep it that way. But I'm not opposed to annexation and development overall. But for this one, I've had a lot of concerns that I feel like aren't being addressed by the city in particular. But one of the big ones was the compound flooding issue, and I apologize for emailing so late last night. So if you hadn't had a chance to read it, I apologize again. But when I spoke, several comments I made at the city level about compound flooding, I don't think they understood what I was asking. Afterwards, I spoke to an official at the Flagler Beach, and they pointed out to me that this data was already incorporated, and then proceeds to show me a map of the FEMA floodplain, which is not the compound flooding. So obviously, these compound flooding is higher by several feet in many cases. And if you take a look at the map of that area west of John Anderson, you can see there's quite a bit of flooding in that area and wetlands. So there's only a few hundred feet from John Anderson that aren't in that. And obviously that's buffering to that wetland. So I appreciate you hearing my concerns, and I understand you might be discussing some purchasing of this sensitive area, and I ask you to go as much as you can and take as much as you can, please. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
My name is Corey Bauman. I'm the Vice President of Local 4337, Professional Firefighters for Flagler County's Union. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here because I care deeply for this county and the people who serve it every day, especially our fire and rescue personnel. I'm here today, over the past years, we've seen meaningful progress towards addressing our department needs. Investments in new fire engines, rescue units have strengthened our response capabilities and reliability. 100% of our gear is now in full compliance, ensuring the safety of our first responders is a priority. Mental health has been taken seriously. The county's made strides to provide us with access to counselors and programs to keep us mentally fit for duty. The in-servicing of the new helicopter, Fireflight, ensures that a vital piece of equipment that saves more lives and property than is calculable. It is available for this county for years to come. The addition of 2 new fire stations, when the last new station was built over 20 years ago, shows an understanding that our county has grown and that public safety has grown with it. These points of progress and many others have brought us something that I've not seen in my decade of experience here with FCFR. We had 25 candidates show up for testing just this Saturday. Normally, we see 5 to 8, and we're grateful to see those 5 or 8. It's a clear indication that we've pivoted towards a brighter future for Flagler County and FCFR as a department that people are competing to work for. Much of this progress reflects leadership that truly understands this county and its people. Mrs. Petito has consistently demonstrated care for her workforce, respect for mental health concerns, and has a clear understanding of what our growing county needs to remain safe and resilient. She listens to the needs of our firefighters, our paramedics, and our department's heads, and she works to balance those needs with fiscal responsibility and long-term planning. What stands out most about Mrs. Petito is her willingness to put the county's needs above her own. Her decisions are guided by what's best for the community and not personal interest. Her knowledge of this county, its challenges, its growth, its people, cannot be replaced easily. Leadership matters, especially during times of growth and change. Retaining experience, compassionate, and knowledgeable leadership is critical to maintaining momentum, morale, and trust with FCFR and the community that we serve. In all your decisions, we respectfully ask that you consider the positive impacts that have been made, not only in regard to the morale of Flagler County's first responders, but also our mental wellness, the continued improvement in public safety within the community, and we thank you for your time and your commitment to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
holidays. Barbara Revels, 804 Powell Street, Flagler Beach. And we don't often get to say thank you to our paramedics and emergency responders. And they've been to my mother's house a few times, and they're just always wonderful. And so I get to be here and say thank you. So I'm here this morning to speak about the acquisition of some of the Summertown property and in support of what you're doing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Dance, for your hard work on pulling staff and everyone together, and for the commission rushing this through to get it to meet the deadline. And I only wish that there could have been more land that you would purchase there rather than just the 153 acres or whatever. But I do want to remind you that this commission, not necessarily specifically you commissioners, but others in the past, along with a great deal of review, approved that development, previous developer, to 453 units. And right now, the request, even though it's been pared down a few times from the developer, is still 4 times that amount. So when the city, I think, promised or said that they would provide utility services there, I don't think they were expecting it to be 4 times 453 units. They were also expecting back then that the developer was going to pay for the development of the reclaimed water system, that they're not paying for it now, to my knowledge. And you know that John Anderson Highway is the county highway. I know you know that. And there's nothing being offered that's going to improve that condition, and we know it'll only make it worse, and you don't have a quality report yet showing that. We have advocated that the development take all of their traffic out to 100 opposite Colbert Lane, and internally that would keep that traffic from dumping onto John Anderson, other than the Veranda Bay development that has nowhere else to go. So I implore you, and possibly if you can put the strongest terms possible on the land acquisition as far as any filling, clear cutting, berm building, access from the developer's residence to Bulow Creek, that those things be carefully studied. And I really appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Roberta Paletta, Halifax Plantation. It's been almost 10 years since I've been attending these meetings, but I also want to say thank you for your service and to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. I know the end of the year can be a crazy time. I just wish to comment on 2 items. First of all, I'd like to comment on 8B, which is the beach management plan. And
We'll have comment for that. We have to wait
okay.
till
I
8B.
can't comment on
No,
that
it's
now.
okay. No,
okay,
ma'am.
sorry.
Just consent and non-consent.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll just wrap up by saying that to reiterate what Mr. Tanner and Ms. Revels have said regarding the annexation issues in terms of utilities, and also the not donation, but purchase of the property. I'm glad to see that. Thank you, Mr. Dance, Commissioner Dance, and the rest of the commission for supporting that. And also, I want to single out Commissioner Dance again, because ongoing discussion with Volusia County on on improving the intersection at Old Dixie Highway and Old Kings Road, which is just a royal mess. And to see that's moved up on the project list in Volusia County because of his efforts in the communications, it is deeply appreciated by our HOA board and the other neighboring boards. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Good morning.
I'm Marcia Tanner. I'm a 55-year county resident, and I love this place. I think we beat you here, Andy.
You did.
And we are your constituents. And I won't say something so corny as to say we are your children, but we are, in a sense, because we are county residents. And we do expect you to protect us and look out for us, our health, safety, and welfare. My husband took away all my fire on the 6.5 years we've been working on this, so I'm going to go into something else. We think it's a nice development. It's just in the wrong place. What they are proposing density-wise is staggering. It's unimaginable. And this rezoning through annexation is getting old. We're seeing it everywhere. And if you're not careful, there will not be any more county, because it'll all be Bunnell. It'll be the city of Flagler Beach, which is doubling its population, which is crazy, and it'll be Palm Coast. And so we would like to see the county remain powerful and in charge and looking out for everything. We have a few problems. The Spine Road, which has been promised but does not exist. My poor neighbor, Steve Noble, up at the north, he says his glass in his windows shakes so badly he's afraid it's going to fall out. He feels like he's living in the upside-down zone because of the big trucks full of cement, full of whatever, that rumble past his house on that little tiny road beside the car wash and the CVS entrance. He says it's time for a spine road to take the traffic off that little piece of John Anderson. Let's see, flooding. I know all about flooding, and I will tell you this. Their buffer that the developer is proposing is so small. I live 350 feet from the creek bank, and then that's all sawgrass. And then I live 200 feet up from that in my house. We're on a little bit of a sand hill. And on 4 occasions, if the moon is right, if the tide is right, and if there's a storm, that water comes over the sawgrass. It looks like a lake. It comes over my hog wire fence. It comes all the way into my yard, and I've had alligators and otters and who knows what else swimming in my backyard. So this small little buffer that the developer is projecting for his development, they will be underwater completely, and it's going to come down my way. Our ditches are full for the first time we've ever seen from rain, and so we're in a mess that way. We just don't want them to build in a flood zone, so we need more property than just that 150 acres. Because even if they build up, I know they can legally build the impervious driveways, the streets, and everything, it's coming my way. And so we wish you would kind of keep an eye on all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for an opportunity to talk. I wasn't expecting to.
Just state
but,
your name for,
Pardon me?
state your name for the clerk.
Oh, I'm Sandra Schulteis, and I live at 5403 John Anderson Highway, Flagler Beach, unincorporated. What the Tanners are saying, what everyone is saying about this really needs to be addressed. We have had an extensive flooding just from the beginning of Veranda Bay. Once they go over to the other side, if they even resemble the east side, it's going to be a disaster. And Volusia County is going to get the impact of it as well. I mean, because you're talking Bulow Creek headwaters coming down, And spine roads, I understand spine roads. I was a developer in Lake County. When they put in spine roads, if they don't do it properly, they act as a dam. And this 150 acres, and again, thank you, Andy, for being there, and all of you for trying to protect as much of Bulow Creek as you can. If Flagler Beach does end up annexing this, you guys lose all power. So does Flagler Beach, but they don't get that yet. But they will, because the developer will have his signature, approval, and he's going to go at it. And I just really want you to do whatever you can, talk to St. Johns River Water Management, and hopefully we can try and extend the amount of buffer zone and so on and so forth to protect the flooding for the future. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello, Caleb Hathaway. I just want to ask a question. Will there be public comment on the amendment 8D? There will be?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Specific to it, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any other public comment on items on the consent agenda or not on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to items, the consent agenda. I'll start with Mr. Dance. Anything you'd like to discuss?
Just a couple comments. On 7C, the resolution supporting Senate Bill 636, just wanted to thank Commissioner Carney for putting forth the resolution idea. I think it's great for reinforcing our legislative advocacy. There's some really good parts within 636 that help Flagler County. And then on item 7G, on the procurement manual, we've talked a little bit about trying to do some preferences for local businesses. And this addresses and cleans up a lot of things. I think, right, what helps is we have federal and state, they overrule local control on local preference. So we can't utilize local preference on all federal and many of the state projects. So it really limits us to just local funds where we can focus. And I think some of the changes help this within procurement, but I do think I want to spend some time maybe even digging deeper in the future on this. And I didn't know if I don't necessarily need our finance team to talk about anything on there. I think I just wanted to talk a little bit about the local preference, and I'll ask at the end for consensus under board comments and talk a little bit more about it.
Ms. Carney?
That's it.
No, I am happy with the resolution as well. Thank you to our legal team for getting that done, and it was very fast and very efficient. Thank you. I am going to pull 7G. I don't want to ask my questions at this point because we're just talking.
Mr. Hanson?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Richardson?
I also have none, thank you.
Right. Anyone to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7G.
Right.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Carney to approve the consent minus item 7G, and a second by Mr. Hanson. All right. 7G. Want to go ahead and make a,
Yeah, it's a question and answer period, so whoever is representing 7G. So Commissioner Dance, I am going to get into the weeds on this a little bit, but it's not about your subject.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Yep.
We got a first and a second.
Yep. Yeah, can we go ahead and, I have a first and a second to approve consent without item 7G. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you. I thought about it. And then he was
Sorry. It's not about procurement for local preference, but it is just a couple of procurement questions. On page 10 of you talk at length about training. Is there an actual training module or training activity that your directors go through to learn about your procurement policies?
Well, Robert Rounds, procurement manager. We do spend a lot of time talking about all the rules because almost everything we do is based on state statutes. So we have to follow the state's guidelines to a point. So we do spend a lot of time on the training about, if we do get phone calls and people are asking, how do we submit a bid? How do we do that? We do go over that quite a bit.
That's not a good answer to my question, so let me say it again. If I'm a new director that shows up in the Parks Department,
Okay.
and I frequently write POs or request from Mrs. Petito or whatever the chain of command is, has that director sat in a chair and watched training on the policies of procurement? Is that training documented in their personnel file? And would this level of change in the procurement policy lead to a follow-up training for those directors? I don't know how many directors we have. I'm sure it's more than a handful. But I saw a lot of the responsibility on this procurement going and falling on the director of the department.
Depending on how you read it. Now, what we have done since I've been here, we do have a lot of training videos that have been created. Now, to your point, we have not instituted like a training. If we get somebody brand new, we sit them down, have them watch the videos and do that. But I am 100% all for that because one of the things I've noticed since I've been here, there is a lot of, I don't want to say leeway, but there's a lot of unknown things about, the procurement rules, what we have to do and what we have to follow. So I am 100% behind what you're suggesting. Okay. We do have, like I said, we are working with HR currently. I'm working with Lauren. We have training videos that we want to put out. We have a P-card training. Whenever one signs their card, we have them go through that. So we are instituting it, but are we where you want to be and where I want to be? No, but I'm all for it.
Okay. And what if a director does make a mistake in the procurement process? What do you do, or what does their immediate supervisor do to correct the error?
Well, the error should stop with my office. If we see something that was procured wrong or they're taking a wrong step, we stop it and we talk to them and explain, like John has a great saying, we facilitate the yes. Yes, you want to buy this. No, you're doing it the wrong way, but here's how we can do it. So we help them along the way. Hopefully nobody's buying anything wrong, but every once in a while we catch something on the agenda, but we do try and fix it as soon as possible.
What if it got all the way through and got purchased? What would a corrective action be?
Document exactly what happened. Obviously, if it goes all the way through, then that's on me as well. And my boss, and everyone else. It's also on anyone who's signing it. So far we have not had that happen. And even digging back into the files, I've never seen it happen here, but, obviously it can. But the big thing is everything, per the policy, everything that's going to be purchased should come through my office. So hopefully we're not going to see something like that.
So that was my third question, is where does the responsibility lie at the clerk's office with the director or with procurement? But I think you answered that. Yep. When the procurement department does training, I'm going to suggest that you document and put it in the director's file. And if we don't have a standard policy that they're getting trained and there is a mistake, you get nothing to fall back on.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, it's me over in the courtroom.
Well, true. That's true. And then on page 13, I do think there's a typo. Again, I'm in the weeds on this. I know that, but this is what I do. So I think on page 13, I don't know what line it is because it's within the content of the document. You designate administrative. I think it should be dedicate administrator. When we piggyback, are all those agreements that we sign review to make sure that they are not in any violation of our procurement policy?
Yes, every single contract or piggyback we do is reviewed by legal.
Okay.
Yep.
But not you?
Well, no, me, I send it to legal, or my staff will send it to legal once I've reviewed it as well. But yes, every single thing we sign is reviewed by legal.
I just noticed we do a lot of piggybacking.
We
so.
do. We're trying to get a little away from that and do our own bid, so we're working on it.
Good. All right, that's all I had, Chair. Thank you.
Good points and a great leeway, Commissioner Carney. Through FAC and the Institute for County Government, they are expanding a lot of their, not only do they focus on additional education, advanced education for county commissioners, but they're also expanding into educational opportunities in a specific track for directors at the county level. So what you'll be seeing really soon is potentially a course in procurement or a course in finance specific to where we get subject matter experts from around the state to educate and to go through a syllabus, specifically for like complying with state statutes and other things.
Right.
So there's going to be opportunities, and it's good to know if the board, it may come back to the board for support to be able to have our directors go through some of these, or through staff. It's really open to anybody, but there'll be opportunities specifically for continuing education. And I think you hit on it, but all of there's a routing process for everything. So as you sign a piggyback contract or agree to one, it goes through not just your review, but then has to go to legal.
Right.
Legal has to go through, review the contracts and compliance and everything, and then to the administrator for final review before it gets posted.
Yep,
So
that's
we
correct.
try to do the checks and balances that are necessary to make sure everybody stays on task. But
Yeah, and like I said, we're definitely all for training. I'm willing to instill way more. It's a positive.
okay, good to hear. I'll make sure that's noted.
Well, the P cards were picked up, I think it was in Volusia County.
Yeah, Volusia County.
They picked them up. I mean, you got to
yeah.
sign out your P cards because there were a lot of illegal, or not illegal, but unauthorized purchases.
Oh, yeah.
And P cards, I'm sure, are very difficult to manage.
Well,
So
not to throw a neighbor over, but if you look at Daytona City right now, they're going through a lot of stuff with P cards.
that must be what I'm thinking of, yeah.
And that's what we don't want. Anything else?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to, sorry,
7G.
to approve their update to the county's procurement manual.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Carney, a second by Mr. Hanson to approve item 7G. All those in favor, signal with aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 7G passes. We're moving to item 8A, Mr. Hegedus, I believe, or is it going to be? She's got it. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning. I'm Deborah Paradowski. I am the SHIP administrator and liaison to the Joint Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for the City of Palm Coast and for Flagler County. So today you will hear the committee's annual report of recommendations. AHAC is required under statute to review how the county and the city are implementing 11 of the state recommended incentives. Those incentives include things such as parking and setback requirements, the allowance of accessory dwelling units. So those are the things that they have reviewed. So the committee had held its public hearing on November 4th to adopt these recommendations. And approval by the Board of County Commissions doesn't create policy. It just allows and authorizes the staff to develop an implementation plan and bring those things back to the board for your input and for formal adoption. And so staff does have to provide an implementation plan to the committee by March. So the SHIP program was created under the Sadowski Act, and its purpose is to support each community's housing element of their comprehensive plan. And that requires that the community plan for the availability of affordable housing for their current and for their anticipated population of all income levels. So AHAC's purpose is primarily to advise on the regulatory background, the environment that encourages affordable housing to be developed as developed by the private sector. So the AHAC is not there to decide how SHIP funds are spent. They're there to advise on the regulatory background. So the committee completes its review. They do receive statewide training, and they also get input from the relevant planning staff throughout the year. And so the official AHAC report is included in your agenda, includes some of the background information. And at this time, the committee chair, Ms. Valerie Clymer, she will present to you the committee's 2025 recommendations.
Good morning. My name is Valerie Clymer, and I am the chair of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Before presenting the committee's recommendations, I want to summarize the housing challenges your constituents face. The need for affordable housing in Flagler County is clearly documented by the Schimberg Center for Housing Studies, the state designated authority on affordable shortages, and reinforced by our local workforce data. Teachers, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, and frontline healthcare workers cannot afford local rents and are often priced out of home ownership. Frontline workers such as CNA and medical assistants can typically afford only 40 to 50% of the area's rental prices. Our largest employment sectors, retail, hospitality, and food services, earn wages that would support rents of $700 to $800 a month, which do not exist in Flagler County. The state confirms this shortage. Flagler County's deficit of affordable rentals is so significant that the county does not qualify for the Live Local Act waiver for affordable housing tax exemptions. The state recognizes that local supply does not meet demand. For this reason, the committee focused its recommendations on aligning with the state's housing strategy and addressing the documented shortage of attainable, affordable housing. With that context, I will now present the 2025 AHAC recommendations for the board's consideration. Our first recommendation is we recommend that the county formalize a policy of ongoing AHAC review of housing cost impacts. The county is required by statute to have a clear process for considering how proposed policies or regulations could impact housing costs before adopting them. The adopted LHAP states that such items should be brought to the AHAC during the discovery stage before being placed on the agenda, so the committee can provide input and help ensure compliance with this requirement. The committee noted that discussion on impact fee increases, consideration of taxing districts, and other regulatory items which could impact housing costs were not referred to AHAC, and no other identifiable process appears to be in place to ensure compliance with the statutory requirement. Several communities use their AHACs to meet the requirement. Hernando County routes proposed changes through the AHAC for review, while West Palm Beach uses an agenda checkbox to trigger review of housing cost impacts. The committee had previously recommended that there be an agenda item trigger, but the BOCC did not move forward with that, but adopted the LHAP, which specifies these items be presented to AHAC for input to meet the requirement. For that reason, AHAC's recommendation is to formalize this policy and to ensure enforcement and to ensure compliance with the state statute. Recommendation number 2, we recommend that the county develop an official policy or ordinance establishing a process for the periodic review of publicly owned lands for suitability for affordable housing and a policy governing the disposition of such lands. Under statute, the county must adopt by a resolution a list of public lands, not just surplus lands, but suitable for affordable housing. In reviewing this requirement, the committee was unable to identify an official process for the identification of parcels, nor for the disposition of these parcels for the use for affordable housing. We recommend the county develop an official process to improve transparency in the identification of suitable parcels, as well as how the county will transfer, donate, or sell these parcels for affordable housing, to include a long-term affordability measure for transferred parcels, such as deed restrictions and land use agreements. Recommendation number 3. We ask the county to establish representation and support for a community land trust initiative. A community land trust is a nonprofit model that keeps homes affordable long-term by allowing the homeowner to own the house while the land is held for community benefit. This preserves affordability for every future buyer, not just the first. For the county, this tool could be used for innovative housing options in or outside rural developments. A CLT improves the ability for early workforce to moderate income residents to access home ownership as land prices keep rising. As the county continues to grow, a CLT is one of the most effective ways to protect attainable ownership opportunities and ensure that public investment in housing remain part of the community's long-term housing stock. This recommendation simply asks the county to recognize CLTs as an eligible option and establish a policy to participate in discussions on how they could support the county's future housing needs. This recommendation simply just recognizes CLTs as an eligible tool and ensures an elected official or designee is at the table if a regional partner begins exploring one. CLT partnership with local governments are growing across Florida. Gainesville partnered with Bright Community Trust using ARPA funds and vacant lots. Delray Beach supported its CLT through its CRA with land and subsidies. Miami-Dade launched a pilot with seed funding and nonprofit partnerships. The Florida Housing Coalition recognizes that local government support is one of the elements that helps CLTs get established. So the intent of this recommendation is straightforward. Signal openness to a proven long-term affordability model, stay connected with regional partners, and ensure our community is represented if opportunities arise. Recommendation number 4 is to evaluate a voluntary, incentive-based, inclusionary zoning approach. This isn't a mandate. It simply starts the process of identifying what could work here. Voluntary, opt-in, and tied to incentives such as modest density and adjustments, parking flexibility, or reduced fees. We already have a planned affordable development ordinance, but that tool only applies when a developer chooses to rezone into a pad and build a standalone project. Inclusionary zoning is different. It gives a developer the option to include a small number of attainable, affordable units within their standard residential development and under existing zoning, but only if the incentive makes sense for them. And in the unincorporated county, inclusionary zoning would look very different than it would in the city of Palm Coast. It's quieter, lighter, and far more incremental. In a rural area, voluntary inclusionary zoning looks like the same subdivision plan and the same aesthetic and the same large lot character, just with a few homes priced for the local workforce when a developer wants an incentive to make it work. Developers would not be building apartments with well and septic nor on timberland. This is simply about giving the county another optional tool so that when a project does come forward, we have a structured way to offer incentives in exchange for a handful of attainable, affordable homes. The goal is to explore whether this kind of opt-in approach could expand opportunities on a small but meaningful scale while keeping full control with the county. To give some context, voluntary incentive-based inclusionary zoning approaches are already being used successfully across Florida. We see this in Collier County's Workforce Housing Density Bonus Program, St. John County's Optional Density Bonus and Accelerated Review for Workforce Housing, and Sarasota County's Sliding Scale of Density and Height Incentives tied to affordable units. These examples show that communities can encourage affordable housing by offering meaningful incentives rather than imposing requirements. This helps create opportunities for affordable units within different types of developments without clustering them in one area. Recommendation number 5 is to expand local incentives to support affordable housing. While the earlier recommendation addressed inclusionary approaches, this one is broader. It asks the county to identify incentives such as density bonuses, parking or setback reductions, and flexible lot configurations that reduce development barriers when a project includes affordable units. The state defines affordability as housing that costs no more than 30% of a household's income. But the county has flexibility to choose which income ranges to target, using local workforce and economic data to design incentives that support employers and strengthen the housing pipeline. These incentives should not be confused with the flexibility already available through the county's plan unit development process. PUD flexibility is broad and applies to overall site design. The incentives recommended here would be different. They would apply only when a project includes affordable units and would be tied to measurable affordability outcomes, not general design allowances. The intent is to broaden the toolbox and determine which incentives make sense in the county's market conditions, while ensuring they are tied to meaningful, affordable outcomes. Using lot size requirements as an example, when minimum lot sizes are very large, only a limited number of homes can be built on a given tract. That restricts the number of buildable lots, increases the amount of land a developer must purchase, and raises the per unit cost of development. All of that affects affordability in the unincorporated area. Lower minimum lot sizes offered only as incentive when a project includes affordable units can create additional lots, allow more modest home types, and reduce land costs per unit. This does not mean the county would move to small lot development across the board. It simply means the county could selectively offer this flexibility when a developer commits to producing affordable or workforce housing. This approach aligns with the statewide housing strategy in the Florida Statute 420.0003, which encourages local governments to use incentives such as density flexibility and innovative zoning tools to support private sector delivery of affordable housing. Recommendation number 6 is for the county to develop an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. ADUs are small self-contained units located in the same lot as the primary home. They can support multi-generational living, provide space for caregivers, and create modest rental options without changing the look or feel of existing communities. In the unincorporated area where the lots are larger and homes are more spread out, ADUs also offer a practical, low-impact way to expand housing choices. It is also important to note that the Florida legislature is very likely to require local government to allow ADUs statewide in the upcoming session. A statewide ADU bill passed all committees last year, with remaining debate focused mainly on rental preemptions. Developing an ordinance now positions the county to be proactive rather than reactive if the state requirement is adopted. The county will still have full flexibility in determining what an ADU ordinance looks like locally. Standards for size, design, access, parking, utilities, and occupancy can all be tailored to rural and suburban development patterns within unincorporated Flagler County. ADUs are complete, self-contained living spaces and with their own entrance, kitchen, and essential amenities. ADUs can be attached, internal, or detached. Some may be internal units where nothing changes on the outside of the home. On larger lots common in an unincorporated area, detached ADUs like small cottages or garage apartments can be a practical option. This range of form allows ADUs to fit both rural and established subdivisions. ADUs provide a small incremental way to expand housing choices, help stabilize homeowner costs, and support multi-generational living. They can also generate modest tax revenue without requiring major infrastructure investment, which matters in areas without central water and sewer. If the county chooses to develop an ordinance, staff can return with options for owner occupancy, long-term rental standards, size and design limits, and compatibility safeguards that match the county's development patterns. Several Florida counties already allow ADUs. Volusia, St. John's, Orange. Orange County offers pre-approved plans like the Clementine plan shown here to reduce permitting costs and streamline construction. These examples offer useful guidance as the county considers its own approach. Our final recommendation, recommendation number 7, is for the county to establish a local affordable housing trust fund. A trust fund is a dedicated place to pool local resources for housing. Revenue can come from in lieu contributions, the sale or lease of surplus county property, voluntary donations, private and philanthropic partnerships, eligible grant reimbursements, or modest general fund contributions if the board chooses. This creates a flexible resource the county can use to meet the needs that SHIP alone cannot address. Currently, SHIP is our only dedicated housing source. SHIP includes a 25% cap on rental activities, and our annual allocation is not large enough to meet the local match required for developers to access certain state programs. We receive approximately $340,000 in Flagler County. That limits participation in rental development opportunities that could help address the housing shortage. A local trust fund would also fill gaps where SHIP funding is limited or restricted. For example, mobile home repairs have strict SHIP limitations, but a local source could help stabilize aging units for our very low-income residents. The trust fund could support land acquisition, community land trust development, or be combined with SHIP to purchase dilapidated homes, rehabilitate them, and resell them to income-eligible first-time homebuyers. These are strategies that are difficult or impossible to implement with our SHIP funds alone. Examples included in your package show how other Florida counties have used local trust funds to expand flexibility, strengthen partnership, and create opportunities that align with the community's needs. Should the board choose to adopt these recommendations, projects can begin modestly and scale as revenue grows and priorities are refined. This concludes the 7 recommendations that the committee adopted at our public hearing on November 4th. The board may approve all, some, or none of the recommendations with or without modification. Approval does not create policy. It simply authorizes staff to begin the implementation process. Staff will present an implementation schedule to AHAC by March for any items the board approves. Draft policies will then return to you for review, input, and adoption. We now welcome any questions and comments from the board.
Thank you, Ms. Clymer. Very well done. Mr. Dance?
Sure. Good report. Thank you very much. Really, all our action needs to do today is to accept the report. We don't need to go through each of the issues single line by line and accept any of them. I think we would request that staff come back with more detailed explanations and legal with a review of the statutes to make sure that your recommendations are in compliance. But I would move we accept the report as submitted, but that doesn't bind us to any policy decision.
First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you to the staff and thank you to your leadership on this committee. I've served on it now. I'm in my 4th or 5th year. And this is one of the most comprehensive looks. The committee decided that because all of us are not engaged on a monthly basis like I am, that more information or more examples or more photography or photos, images, would leave an impression of what we're trying to say. Both, at least I know of 2 or 3 members that went to the annual conference and gained a wealth of information. So yes, we are modeling ourselves after St. John's or Volusia, and that's okay, right? It's a compliment when you steal stuff from other people. But it's up to us to put the stamp on how we're going to move forward with affordable housing or not. So our or not approach and our recommendations that are made annually, it's very hard to put a measure on how successful they are because we really don't have a lot of affordable housing in the county. We work very, very closely with Palm Coast, and that's why their name is on the report as well, because this isn't just for the county. Palm Coast has to buy into this as well. So I encourage you to support what we're doing in AHAC. I encourage you to allocate staff time and obviously legal time to make sure we're doing this correctly. But my impression of the knowledge and information that's brought forward has been measurably improved over the last year. So I, too, am going to ask the board to consider these recommendations.
Thank you. Mr. Hanson, any comments?
Yeah, just to, when you bring it back to us, I'd like to see a little more on item 4 to protect the housing from the second buyer or the third buyer. Price control.
Yeah, and that can be done through a CLT.
CLT is a good idea, but you didn't reference that in 4. 4 is completely different. And see if there's some kind of price control in there, if you discuss that at any rate. And on number 6, I wonder about the, for instance, the VRBO issues that we have now, especially out in the hammock, and how that plays into number 6, the recommendation number 6. Just if you could expand on that a little bit.
Okay, well, that will be up to this committee as to how you put that all together. We're just making a recommendation. We are not putting the meat in any of this. That is up to all of you to make what the rules are. That is not up to us. So all of the county commissioners would get together and determine what would be best in that instance, not us. We're making the recommendation based upon what we've got, all the information that we've been receiving. But when it comes to actually if you can have a VRBO or not have a VRBO, that's beyond our purview. That's up to all of you.
Well, my point is, it's just in the discussion of this that was in the backup, there's no mention of that. So just mention it. Say that that's an issue. It was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Richardson?
I've been to a meeting or two and watched via Zoom, giving the opportunity that Ms. Carney has been involved in this for so long. I have also remember when they started the Sadowski funds, and most people don't realize that when they purchase a home, they're contributing to that fund. That was done by the realtors, I think was almost 20 years ago.
Almost 30. It's been
Almost 30, thanks.
30 years.
I'm still that old, too. And it's a wonderful program and an opportunity for us. I think these are all great recommendations. I think we have to, push it to a certain one or two that are going to be acceptable. The dynamics are wild. But I appreciate your time, Ms. Devery, your efforts and your persistent work on this. You are a fearless team, and I respect you all very much. I'm excited to see this happen because I know so many people that cannot afford to live here. And I hear it every day in my professional background, and I'd like to see us have a great opportunity for the workforce housing, which we don't have enough of. It started that way when I moved here 20 plus years ago, but we've gotten away from that a little bit too much. And we have people here. I'm wondering where all these gentlemen working and ladies working for the fire department, how they're surviving, and I hear it every day. So some of the things are a little bit quanky to me, but I'm sure we'll all work it out. Madam Chair, is there any way we will ever have a workshop on this prior to that March meeting?
So I was going to ask, one of the specific takeaways was discussed an ADU ordinance. So do we want to wait till they come back in March, or they come back, or do we want to go ahead and kind of signal that we'd like to look at an ordinance so that legal and Ms. Petito can work?
If I was going to make a motion, it was to accept the report and then direct staff at an upcoming workshop to dig more details into these, and maybe we come back and prioritize which ones we want to attack this year.
Okay.
And we may get more clarity on some of them, like the ADUs, very popular in legislation right now. I think in DeSantis's release of his budget, he committed to 100% funding to Sadowski this year in his proposed budget, which is good to see. So no more rating.
Put it this way, right now, only 16.19% of the deed stamps that are collected are actually put towards housing.
I can only go by what the governor stated in his public release. So if that's okay, I will motion to accept.
No, I think he's right.
I don't know if our attorney wants to add to anything to it. I want to give him the opportunity before we make a motion.
Sure.
If you don't
Go right
mind,
ahead.
sir.
Well, at this point, I think it's important that if we're going to accept the report, then it's going to be, I think it's important to work with growth management to determine whether it's something that provide a framework for those options and structures that can be presented to the commission for adoption. Of course, legal, we will then review it to see how it will fit in with the restrictions that the legislature has imposed on local governments when it comes to how much local rule we have when it in the issue. Just right off the bat, off the top of my head, I know that local governments aren't restricted from imposing rent control, as well as whether that will be extended to whether we are limited to providing price controls and over housing. So these are things that I think it's important that definitely growth management take a look at it in order to how to implement these things, and we will work with them to provide those that review. I mean, in my own experience, I helped draft the Volusia County ADU ordinance that went through my computer when I drafted that several years ago. So, and then how to kind of formulate those and make those
fit in and into the character of Flagler County, and it may basically make it fit into what it is here. But that's how we would look at it. But I think it's legal's role is going to really be in supporting of growth management's look at how to make this fit into the code.
And growth management is represented at each meeting. There is someone from our growth management department and also two people from Palm Coast, I believe, are there. Can I ask, how did you make out in Palm Coast?
We don't go there until January.
January, okay. All right. So they're going to get the same presentation and they'll have the same feedback. And I'm not opposed to even a joint workshop with Palm Coast if we can get it all done at one time. But our program's going to look different than Palm Coast program. So.
Of course.
Very much so.
I just know from working with you all in the past, right? We spend most of the year going through, and we set up this schedule so that there was a reporting structure so that things would come back, and trying to get all this done. Our deadline is the second meeting in December. Get this report to the county. So I just think, again, as a summary, what we would get back from growth management, our team is strong and mighty, but small. So they only have, probably enough time to address in detail some of these things this year. So just would like to be able to hear back, again, accepting the report. Thank you very much for the work that you put into it. And then hear back from growth management and in a workshop setting and try and see which ones of these we can tackle this coming year.
I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion to accept the report from our Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and with follow-up with growth management and workshops in the spring.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Dance to approve it, to accept it, and a second by Mr. Hanson. We'll go out for public comment on item 8A, the consideration of acceptance and approval of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee 2025 Annual Report of Recommendations.
And thank you to Ms. Carney for chairing, for being our liaison.
My name is Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. I sit on the public side of affordable housing. I want to thank Kim and Pam filling in at times when Kim's not available. The chair and the committee is very vigilant to try to get this done. So this process for the county has started in the late 90s, and you really have nothing really much to show for it. It would be nice to see the county take this ball and really run with it, because my son lives in Texas, and he lives in a community called Trinity, and that developer brought affordable housing in, and he has multi-million-dollar homes, mid-level homes, and then the affordability homes in the community. He also built 3 swimming pools. He has 2 daycares. He has a fire department. He has a police department. The way I understand it, some of these developments, they can get a tax break by building these affordable housing. So the county, I would think, is in a better position, because this is where this was developed, and it went really well. So I will try to further get more information how this developer did the cooperation with the county and developed this. And just like you were saying here, and the chair mentioned, those fire departments and those local police department in that community live in that community for affordable housing. They're walking to work. They don't have to even drive. So, and the firehouse is amazing. As a retired firefighter, I was shocked how big he built the fire department. He built it for the growth, because right now that development's not even fully developed. It's going to be over 5,000 homes, and it's amazing. I just couldn't believe how the planning went all together and built this beautiful community within a county area. And also, just to let you know, if you do build it out in the west side somewhere, and you're going to bring industrial, light industrial, heavy industrial, you need to send water out somewhere out that way, with a water main. So this community would provide an opportunity to bring a water main out there, and maybe industrial, light commercial would tap off of that water main, because we do have water issues. In order to bring any kind of industrial project in here would be needing waste in water. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments on item 8A? All right, seeing none, I bring it back to the board. All those in favor of accepting the approval of the AHAC report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes for item 8A. We're on to 8B, the beach management plan. This is a project update and discussion by, I believe, Mr. Tabasian. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Hamid Tabasian, County Engineer. I appreciate the opportunity to provide you with updates on the beach management program, design, construction, permits, and funding updates on the our implementation projects. We got also our design consultants for our REACH 3 projects. Moffett and Nickel representative here that will offer detailed updates on REACH 3 design projects. The goal here is to ensure that the board receives full updates on our efforts on the program. With that, I'll provide you with updates on our REACH 1 project, which was completed back in August of 2024. That was in city of Flagler Beach, 2.6 miles of federally funded CSRM, coastal resource risk management project that got implemented with approximately 1.7 million cubic yards of sand by offshore dredging that included 2 tapers on the north and south of that reach. The total cost of that project was $32 million that was shared by federal and local funds. We recently completed...
Sorry, that's federal and state funds. I don't think there were any local funds other than research and prep.
Correct. The
Reach one
local
was
funds were came from state.
Okay.
Correct. We recently completed the funding reconciliation for the project with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the FDOT for the agreements that we had for that project. We also, the recent development, the October 2025 nor'easter storm damages. We received the public notice from the Corps that a determination has been made that extraordinary event due to the hurricanes Humberto and the nor'easter. The determination was made that to perform a project information report, and we submitted a request for that, performing that report, and that report would be, draft report would be concluded by mid-January, and should that result in a positive outcome, the final report approval is expected by May 21st of 2026. Updating on Reach 2, which is from North 7th Street in Flagler Beach to just north of Warren Park. This project is our design project that is being done by our consultant, FOD, and they are currently updating the design plans and completing the specification package. And we have received all the permittings that is required for the project from the FDEP, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and BOEM for the dredging, and have obtained 221 easements for the project, with 30 of them are outstanding. We anticipate to have the invitation to bid for the project issued in mid-January of 26, with the award of the project bring to you in spring of next year, and with the construction to commence in summer of next year. The estimated cost of the project is $36 million, with funding that $25 million from grants from FDEP, $6 million FDOT funding that will be reallocated from the surplus generated on Reach 1, and $5 million FEMA funding. Updating you on the emergency projects for Reach 3, which includes Reach 3A in the Hammock Dune Homeowner Association area that just got completed, and Reach 3B also in the Ocean Hammock and Hammock Beach area got completed, and Reach 3C, which is the FEMA Cat G project, that is just started and anticipated to last through January, and Reach 4A, that is north of Washington Oak Garden State Park, that also would commence toward end of January and continue through March of next year. With that, I would ask our consultants to go over the Reach 3 design project.
May I ask a question first? Thank you. When you talk about the easements, the 30 remaining easements, has legal been, or is legal prepared to do anything other than what we're currently doing to obtain those easements? Is there not an option other than a perpetual easement in order to do this project throughout that entire reach?
Not clear what additional, what do you mean by additional?
So
Yeah,
there's options for when you go to, when we start the project. If we don't have all these easements, there will be stop and goes, right? You can't put sand where no one wants to put sand if you don't have a perpetual easement.
correct, because
There is another vehicle that we can use to obtain the right to put sand on that, in that space. And if you don't agree with me, it's okay, but I would like you to look into it.
We can look into it. I still need to be weary of protecting folks' private property interests, because that still is what, while we may attempt to claim a customary right, but that's still someone's private property. So I'm very weary of entering into a property dispute with private property owners.
So just for clarity, up here, 30 outstanding easements is not a small deal. It's a big deal, because as you dredge and you get the sand, each one of those lots that are not part of the project have to be clearly marked. They have to stop at a certain point. They have to start at a certain point. And this project becomes technically, I'm going to use the word, a waste of sand if you don't have an ongoing, continuous project. So just to mention, I finally saw it in writing that we're still waiting for 30. So I want to make it clear that this board has to do everything they can to get those 30 educated, get in contact with those folks, do whatever we have to do to make this a successful project. And then my other question is, under the same point, under design status and nearing completion, are we not still waiting for maintenance agreements with the City of Beverly Beach and the City of Flagler Beach? Because if we don't have a maintenance plan or an agreement with those two municipalities that are also part of REACH to, again, where are we with motivating and getting those other municipalities on board with continual maintenance?
Yes, that's a great point. That is still outstanding with the City of Flagler Beach and Beverly Beach that is within that reach too. On the easement part, short of eminent domain action, we have sent notices to those outstanding properties indicating or offering perhaps a temporary construction easement in lieu of a perpetual easement that we are...
Michael, that's what I'm looking at.
Well,
temporary.
Right, and also we have placed sand seaward of the erosion line to those properties. So what you end up with is some of these properties where you do have the sand out, and then they've got like this gap where you end up with like this internal lagoon on some of these properties as well, in order to still effectuate the purpose of that without filling in their entire property.
But if it's taken us this long to get to the permanent, maybe the temporary option should be explored a little bit more. There's been no action on the temporary, correct?
We have offered.
You have offered? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Ms. Petito, did you want to say something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, in regards to the agreements with the city and the town, notification has been provided to both. The City of Flagler Beach has not responded back yet, saying that they will need us to perform the maintenance on their behalf, and the town meets in January to discuss it, so we are on top of it.
Thank you. Hi. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning. My name is Casey Connor from Moffett Nickel. I am joined by Becky Prado, also from Moffett Nickel, who will be helping support some of the environmental regulatory aspects of our discussion today. All right, so just quick high-level overview for the agenda today. I want to go ahead and reaffirm some of our project goals, do a quick project review, go over some of our project tasks. We do have a handful of specific updates for you, and then go over some of our next steps moving forward here. So this is some high-level project goals that we have co-developed with the team. I'm not going to go and read over all of these. I'm sure you guys have seen all of these, but basically we're looking to go and enhance our shoreline resilience and storm protection, provide some habitat protection and some regulatory compliance, find a sustainable sediment management source, seek to endeavor that critical erosion designation from FDP. Then move through the engineering and final design tasks to get this ready for construction solicitation. Move through the full regulatory environmental documentation process to go and secure all of our appropriate permits for construction, be ready for that construction, and then move forward into long-term monitoring and adaptive management. So high-level overview, our specific project, Reach 3, does span from Washington Oaks Garden State Park all the way at the far north, approximately R15-9, to the southerly extent being approximately R48 at Varn Park, which is approximately 6 total miles. There are some known coquina rock formations that we are very well aware of that span most of the project site from about at the north end, R15-9, down through about approximately R43-5, give or take. So these are all of our tasks, kind of runs the full gamut from start to finish of the project. We'll be providing updates for you guys for tasks 2, 3, 8, and 9, 2 being our fieldwork and data collection tasks. Task 3 being our coastal engineering analysis, which does include our FDP critically eroded designation process. And then tasks 8 being our environmental permitting. And then task 9 is our NEPA planning and our BOEM lease agreement for the offshore bar source. So our task 2, field work, we have provided comprehensive surveys across most of your project shoreline. We do have to collect data that expands north and south of the actual project footprint to make sure we're capturing the full extent of the project site for full regulatory compliance. We have completed our Upper Beach topographical survey. We have completed our offshore multi-beam and side scan survey that's specifically for the potential hard bottom survey, or sorry, for the potential hard bottoms, which I do have an update for you guys on that. We have completed our offshore single beam transects. We have completed our sand sampling, and we have started our very early coordination with FDEP as well as National Marine Fisheries for potential hard bottom concerns. We started that late this summer. So I will start with the hard bottom quantification. So hard bottom quantification is kind of a two-pronged test, right? So first you do wide-scale multi-beam and side scan sonar. So we went ahead and provided in that top right graphic is an excerpt of the results of the multi-beam and hard bottom. That specifically is the multi-beam, really provides really high-level detail of all of the water depths along the entire project site. This is just an excerpt right around Malacompra Park. You can kind of see offshore, we're at about minus 34, give or take, and it gets much shallower as we do go ahead and approach the shore. We did these large-scale surveys extending out to about 2,000 feet offshore, again, making sure we're capturing all of the required information as well as maintaining our FDEP and NOAA compliance for those hard bottom data collections. So once you do your remote sensing through your through your multi-beam and your side scan surveys, then you have to follow it up with scientific diving. And that's essentially the verification that you're getting good data from your remote sensing. And so from the agency's perspective, if your remote sensing shows that it is there, you need to prove that it is not there through the scientific diving, which is why it's really critically important that it's the two-part process. And then we do have to go ahead and make sure we fill in any kind of gaps in that remote sensing data through those physical scientific dive surveys. And so you can kind of see here, there is a little bit of a gap from the multi-beam data and the multi-beam and side scan all the way to the shoreline. It's about 300 feet, give or take. That was as far shallow as the hydrographic team could go ahead and get with a boat before it became in dangerous situations with wave heights starting to break. They didn't want to go into a situation where they washed up on the beach. So from a hard bottom diving, so once you've done the large scale multi-beam and side scan survey, you then need to go ahead and do some that scientific diving. And so that has a two-part process to itself. So the first one is you have to map your hard bottom extents, right? That's your plan view, your map, your aerial edge. And that will develop our acreages, so where, kind of quantity and spatial extents as well as the actual location. And then there's the second part of it, which is your hard bottom characterization, right? That's the ecological value, how much life, how much habitat, how much stuff is there. Bare rock is not the same thing as thriving reef. And so that is critically important when it comes to potential mitigation quantity. So it's not so much as if it's there, but how productive of an ecological habitat it would provide. Here are a couple of snapshots from our hard bottom diving results that we have attempted. We were out there, we've done 2 so far, 1 in October, 1 in November. Unfortunately, the weather conditions were not that conducive. We had very poor water visibility, wave conditions picked up, and so it really did limit our abilities to go ahead and do our large-scale efforts so far. So as of right now, we have only done scientific diving over about 10 to 15% of the projects. We still have about 85 to 90% that's left unverified. But as of right now, we do have our remote sensing data to discuss. We could, as of right now, we are working with our scientific diving team. We're looking to go ahead and slide that back to summer. We'll have better wave conditions, better water clarity, hopefully a better summer profile, which will not be as exposed as what it is now. That being said, if you guys would like us to go ahead and explore some possible standby opportunities, we could try to go ahead and shift to do the work in very short time windows up this winter. The problem is that we are into a heavier wave season, and by doing those surveys, we would be capturing and drawing that literal line in the sand of a more eroded condition. Let's see here. So it went over the remote sensing components. So we've already mapped the hard bottom extents on the WIA scale for what we could. We have started doing some of that nearshore diving verification of data. So here are some of our preliminary findings there at the bottom. So we do have discontinuous hard bottom outcroppings from the northern extent at Washington Oaks down to Malacompra. From Malacompra through Jungle Hut, we have pretty continuous hard bottoms. And then further south of Jungle Hut, we do have discontinuous locations. So here is that remote sensing map. So these red polygons, and I'll start blowing some stuff up here in a minute. So this is kind of just set the scene here. So on the very top, that's the farther northern extent, that's R10, R Monument 10. About R15, R14, that is Washington Oaks Garden State Park. We progress south to the right, and all the way at the bottom right corner, about R Monument 46, 48, that's about approximately Varn Park. So all of these red polygons are the approximate locations from where our remote sensing has detected high likelihood of hard bottoms. So you start seeing some gray polygons. I'll start zooming in on a couple sections as well, but that kind of represents some of our very preliminary fieldwork findings where we have known and confirmed features as well. So we'll go ahead and zoom in real fast. So I'll start off. Our remote sensing findings do show that we've got a pretty extensive hard bottom locations that do extend about, that seaward edge is approximately 275 to 350 feet offshore. So that's first element. The second one is we do have approximately 150 to 300 foot gap in that remote sensing data that we don't have. So that's what we call our gap as of right now. So we don't really know what's there except for when you go in the water to go ahead and see it. Let's see here. The gray polygons are where we do have near shore field confirmed locations where we've actually, our dive team has gone out there and captured some results. And then finally, where you see this other black line, that is where the one really good dive day that we did have, they have field confirmed. So I do want to go ahead and point out that we've got diver confirmed near shore hard bottoms that are more landward than what a remote sensing suggests, which is exactly what we need to go ahead and do to verify this data in this gap. All right, and as well as that was instructed to us by FDP and our National Marine Fisheries liaisons as we've started some of our very early coordination with them. Let's see here. So what does this really mean as it pertains to this particular project? Well, basically it means that with the prevalence of known hard bottoms, we will continue to go through the scientific diving phase. We'll continue to coordinate with FDP, National Marine Fisheries. But basically, any large-scale beach nourishment will require hard bottom coverage. And just to kind of give you some examples, we're still in the very early stages of our alternatives analysis. We were hoping to have the hard bottom data influence the design alternatives, but for something that we could go ahead and just talk known numbers here. So the Reach 2 cross-section is in the upper right. So that is about 80 cubic yards a linear foot. It's something you guys have all known, you guys have all seen, everything is moving forward. Hopefully that project will be moving into construction here fairly soon. So if we take that and we kind of duplicate that seaward edge, what's called an equilibrated to a fill, which is basically how the sand will adjust after placement, kind of overlaid that on the bottom graphic is showing that approximately yellow dashed line. That is about where that equilibrated to a fill would be. So all of those red polygons and the gray polygons that are landward of that line would be covered using that 80 cubic yards a linear foot. So again, using those numbers and just applying the data that we do have, specifically those red polygons, which being the unverified multi-beam remote sensed hard bottom locations, that's approximately 41 acres of just the red. So there's no gap. If you then say, okay, knowing that we do have that gap there, if 100% of that gap was hard bottom, which is not, I'm just trying to talk maximums here, that would be about 184 acres of coverage. Combined total from north to south, that would be approximately 225 acres, give or take. And so currently our next steps, are going to continue to move forward with our hard bottom diving, which we are currently proposing to maintain or to slide until next summer, 2026. Better weather, hopefully better summer profile, hopefully better sand coverage over the existing and ephemeral nature of the hard bottoms that are out there. And then as we move forward, we will be applying our avoidance and minimization strategies, which is required for all of our environmental compliance. And just for some quick math, I did want to go ahead and include that bottom right box. Mitigation construction is approximately $2.5 to $3 million per acre. And that does come with mitigation monitoring, which varies depending on how wide scale your impacts are, but approximately $250,000 to $500,000 per year. Keep in mind that's per post-construction event. So if you're renourishing every 5 or so years, that basically puts it in perpetuity. Coastal engineering analysis update. We have gone through, we've done all of updated all of our water levels. We ran all of our winds, our waves, our storms. We evaluate all of our background erosion rates. We've moved into our critically eroded designation memo, where we will seek to claim that status or that designation from FDP. We have our draft memo that we're wrapping up our final elements. We did have some outstanding data from our offshore bathymetry team. They had a hard time collecting some data, again, due to similar offshore wave conditions. We did just receive that data last week, so we're putting the finishing touches to go ahead and wrap that up. We'll be submitting that here very soon. But the end takeaway is both the shoreline and the dune crest locations are retreating despite the periodic nourishment events that we have had, which does leave upland communities more vulnerable for future storm events. And so once we do submit this formally to FDP, the next steps is FDP will then take all of the data, they'll go and evaluate it against their own internal processes and metrics to see if they, again, agree with our request. And that timeline is really dependent on their workload, what else is going on. Right now, we're hoping it's going to be Q1, Q3, 26 before we start getting some very early feedback from them. But that's going to be the next steps on that critically eroded shoreline designation. And then for permitting, I will hand it over to my colleague here, Becky Prado, to discuss some of the permitting aspects.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Permitting is never exciting, so I'm trying to bring some sunshine to it. So our plans for permitting, right? We're seeking authorizations to go forth and have multiple nourishments. We want to use an offshore borrow area. In order to do that, that means we have to develop a lot of data, which Casey's going over with you, and we're going to be submitting that to both the state and federal government. Our goals are to meet with them in advance. In fact, we started meeting with both state and federal agencies this summer, specific to that hard bottom mapping requirements. Historically, there have been occasions where both the state and federal requirements for that biological data maybe weren't the same, and some entities went forth and expended funds for a survey that once it got to the federal level, they asked for something different. So we're being very proactive. We asked them to come together in the same room. They did, and they've agreed on the methodology that we're implementing now. So let's see, what else do I want to talk to you about? Right now, we're waiting for those design alternatives to come in, and once the county selects their preferred design alternative, we'll move forward with the pre-application meetings. Our goal is to have a thorough and complete application and supporting documents to make sure we meet our timeline, so we have a fairly aggressive timeline. Between now and then, we have some checkpoints set up with the agencies to confirm that the way we're interpreting the data, the way we're moving forward is in agreement with their expectations. On the federal side, there's a fairly extensive environmental review. We have planned to go through an environmental assessment process, and that means that we anticipate through the goals and objectives of the project to have a finding of no significant impacts. And so that is on our side to demonstrate that, again, based on the alternatives. We've started meeting with our federal entities, including BOEM, and our hope is to use an identified offshore borrow area and reach a non-negotiated agreement with them. So there's a lot of words up there that are very detailed that we can get into if you want to, but that's the gist of where we're at today. I'm going to hand it back to Casey to go over the schedule.
Thank you. So this is our current latest and greatest schedule. The magenta dash line representing approximately where we are at in the current time frame. So knowing that we have our hard bottom, the rest of our hard bottom diving being done in summer 2026. This kind of does represent the latest and greatest of what we do anticipate the project to be. I do want to go ahead and point out that we are currently assuming an 18-month permitting timeline upon submission. That does kind of reflect, though, that we are avoiding and minimizing as much as possible. I do want to go ahead and just point out what those blue arrows sliding to the left indicate. If you guys were interested in for us to explore some of those standby opportunities and strategies to try to go ahead and get some of those, the hard bottom mapped this winter, what that could kind of represent as far as schedule savings. But I do want to go ahead and point out that that we are in a more eroded hard bottom state right now. So that could just be essentially showcasing more hard bottoms that we would have to avoid and minimize. So that is my, I think that's my last slide. There we go. That is my last slide for you guys here this morning. Happy to go ahead and field any and all questions you guys may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Mr. Hanson?
Yeah, you kind of brushed over the fine, if you will, for covering the rocks. That's, you know, I mean, that's makes the project out of reach.
You're referring to the cost of the mitigation?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does get to be a very expensive endeavor to go ahead and to move forward with that. We have done a little bit of a search to know what has been done in the past in terms of hard bottom coverages. Most of the projects that have done them are sponsored by the federal government, so Army Corps projects. Those generally max out at around 5-ish acres, 3 to 5, of direct impact. And all of those had mitigation ratios of about 1.2 to 1.4, give or take. The latest one, they are doing proactive mitigation, meaning they agreed to more upfront mitigation for an accelerated permitting schedule. So in that case, the mitigation ratio was closer to 3, but that was just to get ahead of the curve. So.
Was mitigation still involve, I've listened to several presentations on this. Is it still involve creating artificial hard bottom?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing?
That would be required. If hard bottoms were to be impacted through the project, yes, there would have to be an entire siting study. We'd have to go through the formal process with all the regulators to get everybody on board with where that would go out, what that would look like.
And so how many acres of those 131 plus the possible 240, how many of those are we going to have to mitigate?
Each and every one that were impacted.
The what?
Each acre that would be impacted by the project would have to be mitigated.
So minimum 131 acres.
If you were to move out with a large-scale beach nourishment, yes. Assuming that all of those were. Now, keep in mind, we're still part of that two-part test. We've got the remote sensing data. We are still doing the diving. The diving might come back and say, hey, actually, a lot of these are false signatures. Or the opposite of it is there, but it's low quality. That doesn't mean you have to mitigate. It just means that the ratio does come down. But it does start. I don't want to be too negative on what the impacts could be because we haven't completed the diving, but I'm trying to be as honest with what the findings are showcasing us so far. And the regulators have told us that unless we prove that they're not there through the diving, that they will assume that they are.
You know, and a lot of those rocks, it seems to me, are not vegetated. They're not, and that's what your divers are checking for? Exactly.
So that there are multiple components to that, yes. So there's a component of elevation relief, like how vertically exaggerated from the seabed, as well as what the micro and macrofaunal communities do look like.
And
So
if you come back and you discover that there's a lot of it out there, we're not going to be able to do a dredge project there.
Or
We're
you
gonna
have
we're going to have to truck it.
Correct, or you'd have to right-size the project down to something that you could possibly get at. But again, we are really trying to lean on what the data will show us to come up with what those possible alternatives could look like. But yes.
Yeah, because you don't discuss trucking sand in your so far in your report.
Correct. That is part of our comprehensive borrow source investigation, just to make sure it is a viable strategy. But at that point, we would be looking at more of a large dune project as opposed to a beach nourishment project.
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay.
So if I look at the timeline and I get really disappointed. These, and I understand it takes a long time working with federal government to get things done. At some point, I guess piggybacking on Commissioner Hansen's questions, if we get to the point with initial analysis that things aren't looking good, do we just stop? Or do we continue with this process knowing that that we're just uncovering the same results that we're going to not be able to afford to mitigate?
Well, no, yeah, and that's it. We would not mitigate. We would truck sand in instead of dredging, so that we can control the outflow and so the sand does not go into the ocean and cover the rocks, which leaves us a very small beach but a very hardy dune. But and that's our fallback. If we can't use dredged sand, we have to truck it. And then trucking, there's a couple things there. Is like pile up dredged sand where you can, make the dune, make several hundred feet of the dune bigger than you need so that you can truck it from there north to the various spots. But that's the scary option, is if we can't dredge, the cost goes way up.
And do we have an alternate cross-section of what the beach looks like with just the big dune project versus?
I don't believe so, but it would be maybe, I would say on the max size, a little bit bigger than what we did for the 3A, BC, more like 3A. 3A was the biggest emergency dune. We could probably go a little bit wider than that, I think, without impacting the hard bottoms.
So it doesn't go higher, it just goes a little bit wider.
Correct. You might end up with a small beach berm in terms of a general.
I'd be curious to see what that looks like, though, in relationship to the. And what's your maximum slope toward the beach? What is that? What's the max you can do on that slope?
So are you referring to like the seaward slope?
Correct.
Generally, you construct it steeper than what it would set up as. It just makes construction a little bit cheaper and faster. But generally, it's going to sit up at a 1 on probably 100, give or take. But for construction, you'd set up at like a 1 on 12, 1 on 15, give or take, especially if you're high and dry and you're completely emergent.
If you do the truck project, does FDEP come back later and check to see that even though you didn't do the dredge sand and you piled it on the beach and you made a higher dune, that sand is not washing out and covering the rocks?
That would come out through the permitting process, again, depending on how far we wanted to go ahead and push the envelope. And that would be part of that permitting negotiation process. So possibly, but maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be right. The worst case scenario is you build the big dune, a big storm comes in and
Washes it
washes
out.
it all and covers
the
everything anyway.
rocks, and then you got to pay $200 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Ms. Carney? None? Ms. Richardson? None? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
We greatly appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you for your time. I don't think there's any motions here, so I'm just going to go out to public comment. Everybody okay with that? We have public comment for item 8B, Beach Management Plan Project Update Discussion.
David Eckert, Kelly del Sur. Thank you for passing the resolution for Senate Bill 636. Your discussion shows how valuable Senate Bill 636 is, because there's a provision in there that if this problem that you're talking about of covering the rock is too big for the county, that it transfers to an area of critical state concern. So I want to say to you now that the path forward is known, and you want to plan this out with dredge to cover those rocks and not back off of that, and you want to fund that, and you want to turn this problem over to the Florida DEP if it's necessary that the rocks have these large mitigation problems. So assuming that we're going to go full speed ahead, the county must complete a strategic beach management plan meeting the requirements of Senate Bill 636, which shows internal flooding to the stormwater lake systems to the areas of concern relative to Palliser Creek, estuary area, all of those things, because that's what 636 allows FDEP now to include into critically eroded beach designation. So you have to also come up with the funding and the perpetual easements and all of the problems that you're talking about for Reach 2, those 30 delinquent perpetual easements that maybe become temporary easements. So I would encourage you to do that, and I would encourage you to try to accelerate the Moffitt schedule as closely as, or as rapidly as we can, by going out there and seeing and not completing the report in the winter. If you go out there and you start seeing an eroded condition and it's going to be not the poster child that you want to show, you stop that process, but you might want to go out and try to do that. The BOCC, though, on whole for funding, we got to gain the confidence of the citizens. The BOCs cannot delay the infrastructure funding, and that means road, shoreline, and stormwater. They're all connected in the northern part of the county. The current BOCC and its predecessors have used these problems and sometimes failed to provide implementable plans and adequate funding for the crucial infrastructure, including what I just said, stormwater, roads, and beach management. The BOCC is not alone at the county level. The cities are doing the same thing. They're delaying investments in the infrastructure. That's hurting the county overall, but the citizens have to believe that those delays are hurting the county and the cities. Your consultants, in agreement with Steve and I, have suggested the need for all funding sources to be considered. We just had workshop meetings this last week doing that. So that means we have to consider growth, we have to consider half-cent sales tax, increased fuel tax, and possibly increased ad valorem tax to be able to complete this funding. Steve and I offer to do an investigation of why we were not able to achieve those in those past years and to present that to you in January so that we don't repeat that, trying to keep the achievement of the schedule for 26, 27, and 28 within our scope.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Greg Davis, President Hammock Dunes Owners Association. Let me start by saying that my hair is not on fire. From the report so far, from the preliminary report. It is a preliminary report. I think you have to kind of keep that in mind. Frankly, in the years that I've had an opportunity to be watching this issue, I'm very impressed with the thoroughness of the data, the approach, and the planning to get data and information to be able to figure out what you need to do, right? And I think that's what's key. I think that our experience has been so far that we know what delay does. Delay just kind of exacerbates the problem. Bad news does not improve with age. So we do need to kind of continue to move forward in an expedited way. Once we understand what the real issues are, what needs to be done, then we can kind of focus on solutions to figure out how do we get there. Right, and I think that's really what the key is. I mean, I'm encouraged by the resolution that was passed earlier today on FDEP on the 62636, which, if approved by the state, will go a long way in providing support. So again, my hair is not on fire. This is just fact-finding at this point. And once the facts are known, then we kind of can start focusing on what are the alternatives out there. I would also like to remind the county commissioners that particularly when we're looking at the area that I'm somewhat responsible for, we have billions of dollars in investment there. And we have hundreds of billions of dollars of additional things that are kind of going in. Those things are essential to the overall county's growth and development, not just on the beach side, but also on the also west of the intercoastal. So again, keep on repeating. My hair's not on fire. This is just fact finding. Once we understand what the facts are, we can look at the solutions, and then we can kind of determine what are the best alternatives in trying to achieve that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else like to speak on item 8B? Nope. Oh,
One
Mr.
final
Dance.
follow-up. I think the easements are the critical timeline for Reach 2. And I'd like to get a more follow-up from administration, from legal, on a more continuous basis on the progress that we're making. I don't know what that looks like, if it's a weekly update, or if there's, I know reaching out to Flagler Strong made an impact last time. We could do the same thing if it gets to the point, but I see that as the critical issue to getting Reach 2, the most immediate project, fully done, and I would feel better that I see that continuous push. And I know it took a lot of effort last time, so I know we have to repeat the same effort. Sean's been through it. I think Aunt Sarah, and this is Michael's first time going through the easement procurement process, but I would feel better being regularly updated on that process, and so that we don't get to a critical point, or if we do get to a critical point on a few, we have some backup plans that we can go to.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think we almost have to set up a war room with legal, and so that we have a constant day-to-day assessment of where we are and what we need to do. And I don't think that's too much to ask to do it every day. We need to know every day what's going on and report to us weekly or something.
Do we know what the reason is for the 30, or have they given any specific feedback, or is it just not being able to reach them, or?
I don't have any specific feedback.
Sean
so
has a
I'll
full
have
list.
it.
Sean has a full list. I received it. Sean has a full list. Yes, it's all of the above. They can't be reached. People are getting divorced and they are thinking about how they're going to split the property, so neither one of them wants to sign. Deaths that are not reachable. There are several non-signaturable events going on. I think you look back to the Flagler Beach issue. That data was made public. It was put on a website. There was a thermometer as to how we reached our goal of 100%. There were 2 holdouts in Flagler Beach. So this is why my comment about the 30 is not a minor issue. I agree, it's a major issue. So all the education's been done. People have been presented the packets. People have been presented the same information, except it's not an Army Corps form, it's a Flagler County form, but it tends to follow the same requirements, that we need permission to do this, so.
And the other resolution, though, is legislatively, and I think Sean mentioned it in the staff report for SB 636. There could be some, wiggle room. We looked through the one at FACT for the one that was on the Panhandle, and so there may be some additional ways in this specific purpose for being able to do a public safety program that legislation could help us override the signature portion. And that won't help us for REACH 2, but maybe in the future.
I know I provided it to legal, but I'll be happy to provide it because it wasn't provided to you, Mr. Rodriguez. I don't know if anybody's seen Fort Myers easement, online easement. They tie it to the GIS. Have you seen that? You can just go online and grant easement. You can select what type of easement you want to grant. It's in live feed. It shows you what lots are the holdouts, and it keeps them from having to send out paperwork and everything else. It's a link. It can be shared online. It can be, it seems really simple to set up, but it gives them an FAQ about what this is, and then it shows in live time tied into the GIS, here's the holdouts. If you're one of them, click this link, here's the paperwork, and here's how to get it to us. And it seems simple to set up. I'll send it to you, but that's what their legal department did down in Fort Myers to get to the masses. And then it was something that just kind of went viral on Facebook and stuff, sharing the link and going, do you know these people? How do we get these? And so.
Did they get the compliance?
I think so, yeah. Fort Myers is pretty much. But I found it, and I had given it to Al a long time ago, so I'll reshare it with you. It might help. I don't know. It might be difficult to get that set up, but we can try. Any other comments on 8B? Nope. Seeing now, we'll move to 8C, the Board of County Commissioners 2026 Committee Advisory Board assignments. I believe this is you, Ms. Petito, to share.
Actually, Karen's going to be going over it.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Do you want to push 8D up instead and then have this as our last discussion?
Absolutely. Would you like to do that?
I would recommend that.
Okay. We don't want to lose everybody. We'll come back to 8C in just a minute, just so we can let everyone go, because we'll go ahead and move on to item 8D, ratification of the Florida Forever Boundary Amendment application relative to the 153 plus acres of the floodplain with the Summertown project. Hello, Eric.
Good morning. I was hoping to delay it a couple more minutes.
Step on up, Eric.
I may need a step because I'm not very tall. But I wanted to bring this to you all for your consideration and just provide a little bit of information on how we went about the process of figuring out the 153 acres that were proposed for Florida Forever. And wanted to also give a little bit of background on what that means and what the next steps would be. So Florida Forever was established in 1999. It's the state land acquisition program. The projects are usually grouped and evaluated based on 6 broad categories, and they're ranked every year for to determine whether they're high, medium, or low priority. So every year, the ARC meets and selects those projects that are high or medium as projects that they're going to work for that year. And this is essentially what we've done for Bulow Creek. So when we considered the acquisition, we had two options. We had an option was modification of a boundary or a new project. New projects take about 18 months for the entire process to run through and funding be and funding be available. So we instead elected to go the route of modifying the boundary for the Flagler County Blueway. The project has been in place since 2003. Is total 4,260 acres, and so far we've only acquired about 14 and 25. So at this point, the Flagler Blueway project is ranked number 27 out of 38, and it has an assigned priority of low. So, and you can see on this figure, all those parcels that are shown as essential parcels remaining are the ones that are on the list. So we're talking about adding one more parcel to that. Ooh, I think I may have turned it off. Sorry. So Florida, the timeline for the application, the ARC meets twice a year. Their next meeting is on February 14th, February 13th, so day before Valentine's Day. And all the boundary amendments were due on December 8th by 5 p.m. So we are required to have, so Florida Forever is the same as ESL program. You need to have a willing seller. And if you don't have a willing seller, the application is not complete and you're not able to have it evaluated by ARC. So we were able to get the forms on the 8th. We were able to submit on the 8th. And we're very appreciative of North Florida Land Trust helping us get all that information together. So they played a pretty significant role in that, and I want to acknowledge that. So the project highlights, as everybody knows, 153 acres, protects habitats on the Bulow Creek floodplain. It includes floodplain swamp, hydric hammock, as well as riparian uplands that are adjacent to the creek. It protects the headwaters of Bulow Creek, which is a designated outstanding Florida water and flows into the Tomoka Aquatic Preserve. So a pretty sensitive area, a very high value area in the state for these resources. It would expand the footprint of conservation lands in this area of the county. As you can see up in that figure, we have about almost 12,000 acres of conservation lands between state parks and land that the county owns. And that includes, Graham Swamp, the Bulow Creek Headwaters Regional Park, Bulow Creek State Park, Tomoka State Park, and the rest. The project will protect environmentally sensitive lands as well as very unique rare communities, plants, and animals. It will protect a portion of the FEMA floodplain, the 100-year floodplain for Bulow Creek. It will enhance passive recreation opportunities in the area. As we know, there's a lot of plans with the Bulow Creek Regional Headwaters Park, Bulow Creek Headwaters Regional Park. There's a lot of plans for new trails, and the Eco Center is going to be nearby and connected. So it's a great opportunity from a recreational standpoint. It will enhance water-based recreational opportunities potentially along the creek, as well as preserve the aesthetic integrity of the area. I mean, this is an area that looks like old Florida, and that's one of the most beautiful parts in the county, and probably in the state. So when we went about trying to figure out how much should be protected or not protected, I went through a process of looking at riparian habitat zones. Those are the uplands and wetlands that are adjacent to a creek, right? Those are the things that, and back in the 1990s, University of Florida was commissioned by St. John's River Water Management District to do an evaluation for several rivers across the state. As part of that report that came out, what they determined is the most critical area is the 550-foot area adjacent to the creek. Those were passed as rules for St. John's for providing protection to Spruce Creek, Tomoka River, Econ River, and the Wekiva River. So those are the only ones that got the RHPZ designated protection zones. However, even though Bulow doesn't have it, I figured, hey, this is a good starting point for us to evaluate how much do we really need to protect here. So again, Bulow doesn't have an RHPZ, but we're using that as a rationale. Right now, based on that 550-foot offset from the main channel of the creek, Veranda Bay investment property contains about 41.85 acres of riparian habitat associated with the river. The acquisition would protect about 26.63 acres of that, so about 63%. And assuming that the 100-foot buffer is preserved around the wetlands that are adjacent to the creek, you would get an additional 13.9%. So overall, you achieve about 77% protection of the resources associated with the riparian habitats. From a floodplain protection standpoint, the state permitting requirements is that there is a no net reduction in floodplain storage. That doesn't mean that you cannot impact floodplain, but you are required to compensate it on the site. So Veranda Bay contains about 206 acres of floodplain, designated 100-year floodplain. And the acquisition would protect about 141.9 acres, so about 68.9%. An additional 13.51 would be located within the 100-foot upland buffers. So as you can see here, site definitely has had a lot of development pressure. This is something that is highly considered by Florida Forever when they're looking at a project. And what I have up here is an exhibit showing the proposed development footprint for the Hammock Beach River Club development. This is the environmental resource permit that was issued by St. John's. Has been modified a couple of times. I believe it is expired by now. So potentially they have to go back and do a new review of the project. So under this scenario, the acquisition of this 153 acres would have eliminated 73 single-family residential lots from the development. And it would eliminate pretty much all the impacts that were associated with this. There was no riparian habitat protection or preservation as part of this original development plan. So in summary, it's 153 acres located near the center of the property, and you could see it does protect some of the most environmentally sensitive lands within the property. It kind of fits in very well into the Bulow Creek Regional Park footprint, so it does create a good boundary, and it will protect 26.63 acres of riparian habitat as well as 141 acres of the 100-year floodplain. And that's all I have. Welcome.
How about a microphone? Thank you. Any questions? I can start on this way. Mr. Hanson, Ms. Richardson, any questions on this today or comments?
It's not enough.
Not enough.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
And about that, I will say that because it is a willing seller, we can't put the whole property on the Florida Forever or the ESL. We essentially had to what they were willing to give us, and there was some negotiation as far as trying to get more, but we got significant pushback.
Well, it's an obvious where to draw the line. It's obvious, and you did a great job, so it's super. Thank you.
I have a question on the way on the bottom of your diagram, where the creek Bulow Creek, it kind of bends up, goes north, and goes south again, and see how significantly close that land
Yes.
boundary is to the creek?
Yes.
So at this point, all we're looking at is a buffer. Is that buffer proposed 100-foot buffer that Flagler Beach has not been able to lock in yet? That's the only thing protecting that one area of that creek, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was that negotiated? Was any of that lower portion negotiated? I understand going out and away from the flow and the actual head of the Bulow Creek, but it looks like we either didn't, couldn't, or a combination get down. I was expecting to see it go further along the river as opposed to eastward.
So this is what we were able to get them to agree to, unfortunately. We were looking at the original footprint included areas up near the top as well as areas near the bottom. But we didn't get a buy-off on that.
Okay.
Eric?
I'm with Commissioner Hanson. Again, this was last minute. I get that. This is not a critique of anybody except the fact that I know that the Bulow Creek folks have been begging for this for years. This has not been a low priority, but it was bumped into a high priority because of a deadline. I think that situations like this, no matter where they exist in the county, should be looked at every year. We should be looking at these types of developable, environmentally sensitive, and it looks like we have some opportunity. If you look at your first slide where you talk about how much of this blueway we have that we haven't touched yet. So it's a kiss. There's no doubt it's a kiss, but it's not what we need. It is owned privately, I get it. And you also don't show in your presentation a copy of the letter. Do we have a letter, a willing seller letter?
They signed the forms, yes.
They did?
Yes.
So it's a form?
It's a form that's provided by the state.
When we get to the point of the county or the state coming back to us, we still have to go through appraisal, so we pay the right amount, correct?
Correct. And my understanding is through Florida Forever, it is a state acquisition, so we would not be, they take the driver's seat on that, and they take control of the appraisals and everything else.
So one of the speakers that talked about trying to protect as much of that through the simple deed fee simple is not going to happen because we don't control what happens to it once the state buys it.
Correct.
We can't put restrictions on it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They don't share title with us, and all we would be able to do would be manage it. They would look for us to partner up with them on the management part of the preserve, which makes sense considering how it kind of fits into the Bulow Creek Regional Park, which we already manage.
And it's right across the creek from the park, the new park.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's you could see right there. So Bulow Creek is, you could see the area in red here, all the stuff to the left of it. So to the west that has that hatched line in orange, that's Bulow Creek Regional Park. So that we manage.
Okay. All right.
Did you want to say something? Were you about to?
Go one more slide. What's the difference between the proposed 100-foot upland buffer and it's not this slide? Go one more slide. One more. We're going the wrong way. There it is.
Okay.
The Bulow 550-foot buffer, which kind of carves out even more land south of there, more than the proposed 100-foot buffer. What's the difference? Why isn't it 550 feet all the way?
Well, this is not a this is not a regulatory requirement. This is just an exercise of what that would look like. So that's the difference. So it was a way of, since there is scientific literature that would support how much land is really required to fully protect the area, this is our best way to sort of show what those areas would be along the creek.
Well, yeah, that 550-foot buffer down there in the lower right-hand section, that actually makes sense because the creek curves right over next to the boundaries. That makes sense. Okay.
So would that be a Flagler Beach negotiation with the developer to go with that 500-foot?
I can imagine that.
I mean, but we have data and we can prove that that is how much we need to protect that bend in the river?
Yes, there is scientific literature that supports that that's the area that's needed. So from that standpoint, yes.
So we're grabbing a lot of green and not a lot of purple. But it is floodplain. It is floodplain.
I don't think that purple's in the development area. It's too far south.
I believe so too. So on the original plans, that southern corner was never proposed for development. Now that could change now. I have not seen what they're proposing, but in the original proposal, this area was kind of left out as undeveloped.
But wouldn't it be great to have a 500-foot buffer all along that whole area? If that could be, if the city of Flagler Beach can negotiate that, it'd be terrific.
What is the timeline for knowing if this would be accepted and approved?
So they will review it in February, and then funding or no funding happens later on. I think later on we can have potentially some opportunities through the partnership offering some of the ESL funds may help us move it up in the priority list. And same token, we don't need to wait for Florida forever to acquire it. If we want to move forward with just ESL funds, we can. So that's also another item to keep in mind, is that we're not bound to wait for Florida forever.
So I was not a part of the negotiations of this, but was there an expectation on the board after this that, I mean, are there any other expectations by the willing seller of this board, or is this just, this stands alone from the annexation discussions, correct? Or
yes,
right?
There were
That's
no
all right. Okay.
There were no commitments made.
Is there anything to stop us from going ahead and getting an estimate on the land value and, as you mentioned, proceed along the lines that maybe we would just buy it?
So right now, the only hurdle we have is we received, along with the Florida Forever application and willing seller letter, we received the same for ESL. So we're working in the process of putting together a staff report, getting a site visit, and bringing it to LAC early January, and hopefully to you guys to add it to the A list. Until we've done that, we can't get appraisals.
Okay, but you're working towards it.
We are working on it, yes.
Good answer.
Yes.
Mr. Nance.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Eric, for your expertise. He's a valuable asset to the county. Let me just say, his background with the district and especially comes through in projects like this. We've made so much progress in this past year on environmentally sensitive lands. It's been amazing to see, and that's all I'll say on that. Really, there's not much to add to the background. Piggyback on Commissioner Carney's comments was there had been a lot of, we've received emails, a lot of wishing and wanting to do protections, but there wasn't any movement. I think Adam, had even said, Adam Perks Up, that he wasn't able to get a willing seller commitment for a while, and not without trying. But so after hearing a lot of the efforts still not coming to fruition, it wasn't until October so that I was able to gain a face-to-face meeting with Mr. Belshi and Mr. Shimento to really, the objective was it's kind of been a combination effort of the compound flooding studies that we've seen, the king tide issues that we've seen throughout the county, and really the urgence on everybody's has now figured out the importance of floodplains. It's taken a while, but the natural effect of recharge, of cleaning, what the floodplains are able to do, it just seemed like this was the most logical place to make an effort, that it straightens out that right line of the Bulow Creek County Preserve area. I mean, you look at it, you pull back and you look at how that thing stuck out into the middle of that preservation area. It was the obvious first place to look to protect floodplains and to push development impacts farther away from the headwaters. And this is really the closest part to the headwaters. I mean, it becomes almost unnavigable at that point. It's as you can kind of see where the blue lines are, it's the beginning points of the creek. And the ecosystem changes to one point, Commissioner Carney, down where the bending starts to happen with the creek. The ecosystem changes down there. There's really not a lot of floodplain between the creek and the hardwood area. It's at the headwaters where you've got a bigger portion of the floodplain. And that was the obvious focus, was to, we already had the 100-foot buffers from the creek bed pushed, or was it 200? I know it was 75 average. It was a 2-layer buffer, and I know the distance to the creek was a farther distance.
I believe what I read was 100 feet and
Yeah.
then a 75-foot setback.
So there's a farther distance from the creek bank, but it does change down there to more a deeper, wider channel and marsh grass versus the floodplain that's up at the northern end. So really that was the focus, to try and straighten out that line. It left a small little upland in the middle, but really the background of it was just, everything went fast from the meeting. I wasn't even aware of the Florida Forever deadline at the beginning. It just happened to pop up that through Eric's research that was the timeline. And so I'm glad everything was able to be put together to meet the deadline. And I'm glad that we were able to get, your research to be able to put this as the obvious place to preserve. So just wanted to, again, thank you for your efforts. Administration for helping put it forward. It did happen really pretty quickly. I think it was harder to get the final willing seller at the very end, at the 11th hour, but at least that's the commitment we've got now. So
I
thank
believe
you.
3:30 p.m. So.
All right, any other comments before we, go ahead.
I'm just excited that we're going to have an opportunity to be able to at least give the opportunity to show the beauty of the nature of Flagler County, and it'll showcase who we are. We have to continue that beauty and keep it a healthy environment. I moved here for those reasons, as I think most of the people who have moved in here over the last 2 decades really appreciate what we've done with that. The ESL stuff has been fantastic, and I want to thank you for that. That's where my heart really is broken, when things change so rapidly that I've seen it every day, so we all are seeing that, and whatever we can do to keep our community whole and healthy is a thrill for me. So thank you for all you're doing. I do appreciate your work, Eric. Thank you very much.
One final thing. I think the biggest impact is showing the development plan. There's been a few different variations. The one you showed that was submitted to the district. It's right, online somebody had mentioned that all we were doing was carving out swampland and paying for swampland, which is not the case. I mean, this is, you want to complain to somebody, complain to the Water Management District that we're able to permit within floodplain areas, because that's the problem. And that's what's led to a lot of issues, even the compensating storage does not help. You've provided a one-for-one storage, but you've impacted the entire floodplain and put all that impervious surface down over, and then the ponds that collect that compensating storage have been stripped of vegetation. So it's not the same thing.
It's definitely not the same thing. Compensating, it's not like wetland mitigation where you have to go out and make a wetland that is functionally the same. For floodplain, it's just a volume thing. It's just about
I think this
storage.
is a really eye-opening graphic that proves the point that this is taking development pressure off of the edge of the Bulow Creek headwaters, and that this had value to the developer. There was value in this, but the arguments of protection and flood and what the floodplains actually do was what we hit home. That this large area of floodplain was important. So thank you for going back to that. That's all. I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to entertain a motion, then go to public comment.
I'll make a motion to accept the application for modifying the boundary of the Florida Forever.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Dance, a second by Ms. Richardson. We'll open this matter 8D up for public comment. This is regarding the ratification of the Florida Forever Boundary Amendment application. Mr. Tanner.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, John Tanner on behalf of Preserve Flagler Beach and Bulow Creek. That name was established, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I guess we're right on target. The progress is good, and as Commissioner Hanson said, and I think everyone agrees, not enough yet, but it's a good step in the right direction. The current density in this piece of property is PUD, 453 units. Now, we know they're looking to annex, and it's a rezoning by annexation attempt. The article in the newspaper alarmed me a little bit, and I got to thinking about it. I thought, no, that didn't really happen. Newspaper looked like because they had given this or selling this property, offering it for sale to the county and to Florida Forever, therefore the county was not going to in any way impede or object to annexation. Well, I'm glad to hear that's not the case, and that was just a concern. Annexation would virtually destroy all of our good work. That would be the end of all of this attempt to protect the headwaters. We might have that part saved, but the rest of it's going down the tube. The current plans of the developer, if annexed, it looks like is former Commissioner Revel said, a 400% increase. What's to stop a 1,000% increase once they annex? There is virtually no control if the city annexes. There must be some way to slow down the city's rush to annex. I think their rush, and I don't know, but I think their rush is based upon the fact there's an election coming up. And there's probably going to be a different city commissioner if you can predict elections. And they initially, and I would imagine there was some lobbying that went on because it wasn't spontaneous, but it just appeared spontaneously. The city took away the vote from the people. Something of this momentous impact, not only upon the county, but of the city itself, should be in the hands of the people. They'd had a referendum in their ordinances all along for an increase in size of a development percentage-wise required a referendum. They did away with that. They took away the people's voice in the city. And a couple of commissioners led that. Those two commissioners, city commissioners, also have made it very clear they don't care what the county residents say. And they've said that. You're not a city resident, so therefore we don't have to listen to you. That is less than a neighborly approach. So I hope that you're legal, and since I represent a group, maybe I have 2 more minutes. Since you're legal, may have the key to slowing this annexation down. There's several flaws in the annexation process at this point. If they're asserted legally, it may very well slow it down. In fact, it may end it. One of the commissioners indicated, city commissioners, that if there was even an indication that there was going to be litigation, they would not go forward with annexation. Now, people say things and you don't know where that's going to go. I know that Commissioner Hansen said that we'll never four-lane John Anderson. Well, I believe that, but you don't believe everything you hear from, especially the newspapers. But we have a perfect opportunity. If the owner would sell it to fill in the wildlife corridor or conservation easement, whichever way, perpetually protecting this piece of land. The high ground is also important. We don't just need the marsh and the graciousness of getting some of it, and I'm not diminishing the importance of what you did, Commissioner Dance. Thank you. But there must be some way to slow this annexation down, and I would ask you to do a couple of things. Ask your legal to look at it very carefully and see if it can't be slowed down. Why the big rush? Well, I know the rush. They're afraid they'll get another commissioner, and then they will not get annexation because the city will not vote for annexation. So I guess in the end, what I'm asking you to do is two things. One, try to find a legal way to slow this rush to grab this land and to do what, who knows, we'll go from there. Also, in the event that the annexation does not go through, it may be much easier to acquire this additional land that all of us are talking about. I know when they began to move all of the units over to the east side, Mr. Schimento, the attorney for the developer, said now it will be easier for you to buy the west side. Well, they got them all on the east side. It may be a little easier because we're started in that direction, but if the county will hold the line, keep them on the 453, they're continually saying we're part of the PUD. They are part of the PUD. That was bargained for long and hard. In fact, Commissioner Hansen was the only one that voted against it, and he was concerned about the overpass-underpass issue, among other things. So I would ask you to do everything you can to slow this down. Let's get it for the public. Let's get it for the people and for the wildlife and the water recharge area. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you for what you do. I wouldn't take a job.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Hello, sir.
Hello. Caleb Hathaway, 5305 Johnson Highway. Thank you, Mr. Tanner, for his sentiments and what he explained. A big thing was the fact that the development. I mean, I want to first thank the wonderful presentation about this because I'm absolutely thrilled of what the project has become, and finally these talks have happened. I know like a year or 2 years ago we were thinking were we ever going to get to the stage to possibly acquire that, because land acquisition and putting that to public lands is the best way to really protect it, and it is, in my opinion, the best solution to any of these discussions that we end up having. And so one of them, though, was that the project as currently in the county only has about 100 homes left, and we always explained that as long as the development was at a small size, that land would be theoretically protected. It wouldn't be as impacted, and that was kind of the assumption for a few years. And eventually, this annexation came up, and that's why the increase in development is the issue. But and what the points brought up, I mean, that land from a floodplain perspective has been incredible, and I thank you, Commissioner Dance, for what they've done to acquire that, or to not acquire, but to get that talk to acquire that, because that portion there is critical for the floodplain, for the pollution, and how to recharge Beulah Creek and protect it. That was a back and forth discussion during the Flagler Beach Commission meetings. So those were kind of those are points of contention, and I think what we see here is an incredible move forward. But what I'm curious is the reason that they aren't selling, because this was brought up, the reason that they aren't selling as much, not the entirety of the property, but that the reason they only sell a portion, and there was pushback, as we know, I'm assuming it's because they believe they can still get the unit count that they desire, and that they can move forward with a larger project. And because of that, they can maximize the use out of the land that they have. So by not selling a lot into conservation, that allows more for their investors to build up a larger project. So I'm wondering if in the future, because I love what we have here for 150 acres is great, but in the future, if we can grow that, if there's any way to expand that, and particularly what I'm looking at is the south portion of the property, which Commissioner Carney brought up. That is not necessarily the floodplain, but there's a lot of hard oak canopy, and the hard oak hammock is precious habitat. That's about 100, 200 years of that being created the way it is. And you can't just restore that easily. And so when you cut down and clear out, which they've done on the east side, you can see the impact. And I'm just worried that if that land isn't acquired and protected, and the city of Flagler Beach comes in, that would be a repeat of that. So really, I'm just kind of asking the question if that is possible in the future as these discussions go on back and forth. I know it was last minute, so I totally understand what we got was great. But if there's any way to adjust that and maybe ask for increase in the event that this whole land annexation doesn't go necessarily to plan and that there's more protection. If that can happen, I think that would be interesting for discussion. So that's just my question, if it's possible to increase the amount of acreage. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're doing an outstanding job in Flagler County with your coverage of history and conservation. I appreciate it.
Have you started your third book
I
yet?
know.
Raymond Royers, painter. So I had the opportunity to live in Florida for 15 years. I used to live south of here, and I was down off of 46, where it's got a lot of water plains down there. Okay, and it was funny to hear as development was growing, and there was wetlands where they had to purchase other areas to move water. And I had to kind of laugh about that because they're not actually physically moving water, but they're purchasing rights to say the water is going to go over here. That's something you guys are going to have to look at, try to get that law more stringent to, because the wetlands are very important. Also, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I used to visit Ocean City, Maryland, and they had a lot of wetlands. And slowly but surely, they kept bringing more material in, covering those wetlands up, and now they have lots of major flooding issues. Those wetlands are there for a reason. They were made by nature, and when we have these heavy storms, those wetlands give a place for the water to start lifting up and elevating. And by burying those wetlands, we're just creating where that water, again, we're not personally purchasing it like the developers are, but that water has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, the homeowners and industry and everything gets flooded. So I would keep that in mind. And yes, you're right, the floodplains are very important and to keep intact of Mother Nature's storms. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, RJ Santori, 618 Cumberland Drive in Flagler Beach. I don't know if it's possible to turn this on so I can show you a map that I have on my phone. Or
I think so.
well, on the phone it shows the Flagler Beach Gridix map, and that will show a much larger floodplain and wetlands area, which is what I've been primarily focused on. And you can, if you look at the neighboring development at Veranda Bay, and you look at where they put over 150 homes already, are in the lowest of those areas. And I'm sure they raised up the land to do that. Thank you. So I do appreciate the amount of land that you are considering to acquire. And I don't know if there's anything you could do during this conversation to agree to even more, if the developer will agree to more, because my concern is how much of the wetland we will be cutting down and filling in, and don't know where that water is going to be diverted to. And I did have the pleasure of going to the Land Acquisition Board, Advisory Board, and it was a very good meeting. It is interesting to see that, the biggest stipulation is to have a letter from a willing seller. And before you get that letter, a property as beautiful as this could be not even on the list or at the very bottom. But I think, as we all know, this immediately jumps to the front at any point you get that letter. And I was concerned as soon as the citizen referendum was taken away in Flagler Beach that the developer would no longer have any motivation to sell these lands for acquisition. So I appreciate that. There is some land here available, and I really hope that you can push for more. And let's see if this map comes up now, sorry.
Sorry, it's not
already gone on
coming
holiday.
Yeah, that's okay. No,
The
I should
device
have.
is not coming up on the projector for some reason. I'd have to get underneath there and see what's going on.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. Well, I mean, you could, if you go to the Flagler Beach Gridix map, it'll show you the zoning. You can select not only the floodplain but the wetland, and this doesn't even, of course, factor in the compound flooding that we keep talking about. And I'm just very concerned about the amount of flooding in our area. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Santori. Any other comments on item 8D? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Bryn Newton. I live on Indian Mound Court outside this project. I'm just going to echo a few things. First of all, congratulations and thank you to the staff for getting this done and just under the wire. Makes me a little wistful for the idea that maybe Flagler Beach could use a staff like this to look at a lot of these issues that are really not being addressed, but that's for them or I hope for the county to insist that issues like infrastructure, water, flooding get looked at. I want to echo Commissioner Hanson, it's not enough. That's from a perspective of from 25 years ago when all of this West Side land was under contract. It was, I'll try to get over that someday. And echo Caleb that the hardwoods are extremely important too. This will help the homeowners, future homeowners there to have floodplain protected, but the hardwoods are habitat and the creek, an important part of the creek basin. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and bring it back. We had a motion to approve and ratify item 8D. Calling all those in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Did we get you?
You didn't get my verbal.
No,
I'm sorry.
let's go ahead and
Aye.
go again.
I'm sorry.
So anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes for item 8D. All right, we'll move on to the committee selections that we skipped over. This is our.
Chairman, I need to be asked to be excused. It's not an emergency. I sold a house.
Oh, no.
And I didn't schedule myself further out. I'm sorry.
Does anyone do you have anything about your current board?
No, I mean, I'm good with what I currently have. I'm alternatives on a lot, but that was because Commissioner Hanson asked to come off of alternative. I've not been used in my alternative function as much or at all. So I'm fine with what I have if you need anything.
I have a quick question. Canvassing board, it's an election year for me, so would you be willing to serve on canvassing?
I thought I was going to serve
Well, it
on the
needs to.
canvassing board.
It needs to.
I have
Okay.
enjoyed it, and I will continue it. And I think sometimes two people can be there at the same time, correct, Andy?
Yeah, the second person, it's a,
Alternate.
being there,
Backup.
even as alternate, being there is a very
It's
good
a helpful-
educational opportunity to,
Right.
and to move into the next, the next
Position.
slot. So we keep rotating it, but it's important.
Yeah, it's really important, and it's part of my background, so I thank you for that.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
That's big.
All right. So she's leaving. We can assign everything to her.
It's going to be a busy year for you, Kim.
Madam Chairman, I'm happy with my list.
You're happy with your list? Okay. I don't know how we want to go down this. We want to just, how about we reconfirmed as we go down the list? Ag Museum Board, that's currently Mr. Hanson. And who is the alternate?
There's not one for that.
There's not?
You can't have one.
Okay. Any comments on Ag Board? All right, Canvassing Board, we already had Ms. Richardson volunteer to cover that with Ms. Carney as the alternate. Any objections to that? Career Source, who currently holds Career Source?
That's me, and I'll continue. It's
Okay.
quarterly meetings, the three different, now it's Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler.
Is there an alternate? I think it's.
Yeah, there can be an alternate if I don't happen to go.
I can take the alternate for that.
Okay.
Department of Juvenile Justice Council. Ms.
Keep the
Tita,
same.
do we
Kim
have the
Carney.
list? Kim Carney?
Yep.
She would like to remain
Yeah.
alternate? No? Do we have?
Alternate was you.
All right. She's not needed me this year, so I'll take it as an alternate. Department of Juvenile Justice Circuit Advisory Council. I believe that's also Kim
Like the same
Keep
thing.
same.
Carney. Same thing.
Right?
Carney and Pennington.
Early Learning Coalition.
Carney and Pennington.
Yeah, I am already a governor appointee on that, so I don't need to be duplicating.
Okay. All right. Family Life Center.
That's me.
All right. It's Ms. Richardson. Do you have an alternate?
Pennington.
There you go. You haven't needed me
You've been
either.
you were alternated the entire year.
You've been there. Flagler County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, Ms. Carney,
That's
I believe.
Kim.
Yeah. And Richardson.
And Richardson is the alternate.
Right.
FC3,
That's Pam.
Pam. I'm the alternate.
You're the alternate. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll wait for you to.
Yeah. Who's spinning this around?
Now, the Board of Trustees, which is the one that had the scheduling conflict?
They've fixed it.
Okay,
It's now been moved to Tuesdays.
okay.
So that is me and Miss Carney as the alternate.
Right.
The library.
Right.
So they have fixed the schedule. And Miss Carney's alternate. Yep. TDC, I can designate here, and I'm going to ask Mr. Dance if he'd like to remain as the chair of the TDC.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. I can be an alternate to that.
Can I slow you down for a second? I'm looking at what's under my name right now, and A is the one who is assigned, right?
Alternate
That's the alternate. Okay, thank
for
you.
the AFL. All right. We are now down to the Friends of A1A.
That's me.
That's Mr. Hanson. Do you have an alternate on that?
There's really not one needed, but if Kim wants to do that,
Well,
but she doesn't have to. They're really in.
Okay, we'll leave her as an alternate in case someone has an emergency or anything. Friends of A1A subgroup, Scenic Pride, Mr.
That's me.
Hanson.
Yep.
Do we only leave her as an alternate? The staff attends Carver Center now, so there's not a assignment there. Heritage Crossroads has not met in a while, but that's mine, I believe.
GTM NER is me.
Yeah, okay. GT. Line 18 is Mr. Hanson. Do you need an alternate on that?
Again, I don't think so. It's, if you go there and you haven't been following it, you'd be lost.
Right, that's most of it. Northeast Florida Regional, well, we have Mr. Dance there, obviously.
Yeah, and the alternate is one that we assigned to the city of Palm Coast. So unless, right, if somebody from here definitely wanted to do it, then we would kick Palm Coast back out. But if you're okay with keeping a representative from Palm Coast,
attending?
it was Councilman Gambaro was the so they'll have to pick somebody new.
Okay.
Moving up, but
We'll let them, yeah, that's fine.
we do have a third available as a governor appointee, but the governor has not appointed anybody to these boards in years, so it remains empty.
Public Safety Coordinating Council.
It's you.
That's me.
That's her.
That's Pam.
That's Pam, and I'm the alternate. I get all the y'all.
Okay.
Okay.
Change that one.
Yep. Volusia Flagler Transportation Planning Organization.
That's one that I've been attending. It does,
into
sometimes
the
there's a
other one.
conflict, so the backup is helpful on that one.
I can help back up with that one because, when is that?
It's usually a Thursday,
Monthly?
monthly.
Do you know which Thursday? Because I'm committed to something on the 3rd.
I have to look in the backup.
Okay. Can we go ahead and we'll go back to that?
It's freezing in here.
We'll come back to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll come back. We are at the School Planning Oversight Committee. I believe that's Mr. Dance.
That's one I've done. It's helpful to have, is there a backup on that one?
It's the,
Yeah, it's helpful to have a backup. I think Kim had attended those meetings.
Yeah, Kim's listed.
we put Kim as the backup.
There you go, there's the backup.
There it is. There's the old one.
I think, is everybody fine for this to remain the same? What's left here? I don't know. Sorry, we have to bring the other one.
The
26
Value
up.
Adjustment Board, Pam staying on.
Yeah. Pam, are you okay? No, are you okay with the value adjustment?
Oh,
board?
yeah, I'm doing that, and the disadvantaged transportation, which I'm chairing that, and it's been pretty, we're trying to get through some changes.
You can bring back the, there we go.
Unfortunately, on the old list that Greg was working on, I just saw, I was on the Public Safety Council from the beginning of the year. I don't know why it was.
Chair, I'm sorry, we're at row 22 there, school planning.
Yeah,
And who
school
was-
planning, it would be Mr. Dance, and the
Dance.
backup on that is Ms. Carney.
Thank you.
Small County
Oh,
Coalition.
and Volusia Flagler Transportation, who was the
Backup.
alternate?
Does any, I don't
And
mind
I-
being the backup.
I'm the backup.
You're-
Here.
Pam's
I'm the backup.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Small County Coalition, I believe Mr. Hanson.
Yeah, it's Andy's the primary and I'm the alternate.
All right. Town and Marine Land, I believe, is Mr. Hanson.
Yep.
Do you need an alternate?
Yeah, let's keep an alternate in there because it's only three of us.
Well, and it's gonna
So
be
if
interesting
I
right
can't
now,
make
right?
it, somebody's got to be there.
Here is that, what is happening there?
Who would like to be the alternate for that?
Well, Kim's down there.
Okay, we'll leave Kim.
Yeah.
Okay. Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board.
That's me. Richardson.
Richardson, backup.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fine.
Andy was the
It was
backup, I
Andy.
think.
I'm back up.
For that.
That's fine.
All right, and now we're at Value Adjustment Board.
That's still me.
It's Pam and it's Leanna's a backup.
Got a lot of
So
backing
who
up.
will be chairing?
Miss
Pam.
Richardson
Richardson.
did it this year.
It has to be elected.
It has to be what?
Elected.
It's the first
By the
thing they
board.
do at the
No,
meeting is
that's
elect it.
That's done during the meeting.
Yeah.
Right, Jay? Yeah. We've already done that?
The rule changed, and the statute says that the Board of County Commissioners have to elect the chair for the BAB.
Oh,
Okay,
when did that change? It just changed?
we'll do that.
I didn't hear
Does
that.
need to
Are
be
you
done?
still,
year
are you the
ago.
chairman now?
I've been the chairman, and
Well, but it's changed, so will that need to be noticed and put on a different agenda?
It's on there. See, it has delegate as chair in parentheses. So last year, we had to bring it back after the nominations to make sure it was clear on the record who was elected as chair.
Okay.
The DOR emailed us about it.
oh, that was that change that they had at the beginning of the year. I remember that
Correct.
notice.
So what action do you need us to make other than designating her as?
It just says that you have to elect the chair for VAB, the Board of County Commissioners. So just as long as you all agree to elect Ms. Richardson.
Well, I would propose that we have
Make
a
a
motion
motion.
to
Yes.
Make a
elect
motion.
Pam, and then when they get there, we've got a chairman established, and if at that point they want to
That's what she's saying.
change it,
We have to do
they
it.
can do it.
Right.
Okay?
All right.
I
So
think it's implied, but it's
I think we need to
that
do
as
it.
long as we state that that's our selection.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's
would you like a formal vote?
yeah, that
So-
would have to go on
so-
the agenda, which you could put on consent.
She's
But
saying it's in the,
it needs to
Oh.
go on consent for the next meeting. Then
They
we
wanted
can't vote
it
on it right
clear, separate on the record. That's why we had to bring it back last year. Deal or wanted
Why
it.
can't we vote on it now?
It can be voted, you can vote upon it now.
yeah.
all
they
right,
say it's in the-
we've set precedent that we don't do that if it's not been properly posted. But this is a
Well,
minor issue.
You're,
if you
you're,
wanna
assi-
proceed.
you're
Properly
assigning
posted.
you're assigning the,
Committee work.
the board assignments, and if this board requires it to be done by a vote, your assignment is by acting as a vote.
Okay.
So you're basically just saying, all
right.
four of you elect to name so-and-so to the board.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion for a selection of chair for the Value Adjustment Board.
Madam Chairman, I move that we appoint Pam Richardson as chair of the Value Adjustment Board.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Hanson, a second by Mr. Dance. Do I need a public comment on this? Would
I
anyone
would,
from the
just to
public?
be safe, yeah.
Would anyone from the public like to comment on appointment of Ms. Richardson to the Value Adjustment Board? Seeing none, I'll call it back for a motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye, aye,
opposed? Seeing none opposed, Ms. Richardson.
Thank you for your confidential
There we go.
vote.
I believe we're
Confidence.
done with that, right? All right. What I thought was going to be like the shortest meeting ever is the longest meeting ever.
It's only
So, all
not too
right.
bad.
I know, I'm ready for Christmas. All right, Ms. Petito, anything from you?
I actually have a few things. We're going to have Karen bring it up, but while she's doing that, we're excited to introduce a new beach management webpage. It's designed to be a central landing site to be able to share updates and progress on the county's beach management plan. This platform will be updated regularly to provide the most current information to our community, ensuring transparency and accessibility as we move forward. This has been something, having a set of new eyes in administration. So thank you to Percy for pointing out that since the Board of County Commission adopted this plan a little over 2 years ago, it was built around 7 goals, 10 implementation strategies. We've made significant strides and touched on each of these priorities. Sometimes being so close to the work, it's easy to lose sight of the accomplishments that we've achieved together. So this new tool offers a clear way to reflect on the progress made, highlight some of the milestones, and keep the public engaged in the journey ahead. We look forward to sharing this resource not only with you, but we're going to put this out and launch it later today. Since we've been in these meetings, we do have a GIS tracker where we are tracking the outstanding easements. We're going to get that updated, and we'll put a link on here as well. So just wanted to share that with you. Look forward to any input that you can provide, ways that we can maybe further this initiative in showing the work that we're doing for the beach.
This might be a good place to stick the GIS that
The
you have
tracker.
of the easements that are outstanding, and maybe if they do have a draft of easement where people can access the easement itself.
Certainly, we can add that.
Stick it right in here.
In talking to, through text or email through Sean, he has an updated list, so we're going to get the GIS thing updated. It was created in like September, but I think it's not fully accurate, so we're going to get that cleaned up, and we'll certainly put it on here a little bit later today. I'm pleased to announce that myself, along with 4 other female directors, we're going to be participating with the Girls of Light through Flagler Cares. It's an initiative that reflects a collective commitment to mentorship, empowerment, and community engagement, ensuring that the young women in Flagler County have guidance and support to thrive. So we're going to be doing that a little later in the week. Also, later in the week, I'm going to be participating in a deposition regarding a claim that was filed by a resident concerning some of the work that was performed in Marineland Acres drainage project. It is part of an ongoing legal process, and I'll keep the board informed of any significant developments that may arise. Flagler County has been selected to receive a regional award recognizing our efforts in conservation of environmentally sensitive lands. This honor reflects the county's longstanding commitment to environmental stewardship and multi-agency collaboration in protecting natural resources. We've been invited to attend the Northeast Florida Regional Council Award Ceremony on January 8th, where this recognition will be formally presented. I would be remiss if I did not say that this achievement would not have been possible without the dedication and expertise of our staff. So special recognition is due to Eric Revelta, Adam Mengel, and Sarah Spector, whose efforts in planning, coordination, and implementation have been instrumental in advancing our conservation initiatives. I'm going to be meeting with the Director of Behavioral Health Services for Halifax Health on January 7th for some outreach and discussion regarding their adolescent services within Flagler County. The meeting will provide an opportunity to strengthen collaboration, assess available resources, and explore ways to enhance support for our youth behavioral health needs in our community. And then with today's approval of the resolution in support of Senate Bill 636, we recognize the importance for preparing for the potential impacts ahead of the effective date of July 1. We're committed to advancing the necessary shoreline monitoring, the fiscal planning, and policy alignment to ensure that we're positioned to comply. At this stage, we look forward to future guidance from the board regarding priorities, resource allocation, and community engagement strategies so that we can proceed with clarity and confidence in serving the long-term interest of Flagler County. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. County Attorney?
Okay, I've got 3 different points. The first point is because this is our last meeting of the month, and this is also the last meeting prior to Flagler Beach's City Commission meeting, I wanted to seek direction or consensus from the commission as to what direction you wished for the county to take at their public hearing regarding the annexation. In light of the facts that were presented here today with our proposed purchase of that portion, or our proposal to seek funding for the portion of that parcel for floodplain protection, but also I do not wish to waive any legal arguments that the county may have in regards to both the annexation as well as the comprehensive plan issues that are raised with their proposed annexation. So I just wanted to seek that there was some type of consensus that you wish still for the county to proceed forward to at least present the positions that we have been consistently raising before the city. I will reach out to the town attorney to advise them, look, we're going to raise them. We're preserving our rights. This isn't going to preclude or stop any of the negotiations, but I'm sure Drew will understand that, it is legally prudent to protect our rights because funding may fall apart, sales may fall apart, but I think it's prudent that the county protect and preserve its rights and arguments and preserve the record in the event that things do not proceed as how we all wish to have them proceed.
Okay.
Coming up, the next meeting, it's just the west side of John Anderson. So there's, as far as I understand, there's no conflicts with the annexation that's in front of them for January.
Right, the west side doesn't have annexation concerns. The west side, though, has certain comprehensive plan concerns. I think there are certain concerns that have been raised regarding both density, traffic, and those are some concerns that have been raised, and we seek to try to protect interests and arguments that we have raised in the past, and those are important to be preserved in the event, because those are both effects to the county's comprehensive plan and potentially inconsistencies with the city's comprehensive plan. So we wish to preserve those positions.
And that was Adam's 8-page letter That's all summarized. The county's issues are still summarized in his 8-page letter.
Right.
Okay.
So, so none of the arguments would be new. These were all, but we just wish to preserve them on the record so that we don't lose them. But I wanted to make sure that I had this consensus to be aware that our intention is to raise them again at the city. Also, don't want to blindside the city, and I intend to reach out to Drew and say, hey, we're doing this to preserve the record and preserve our rights moving forward. I mean, and as an explanation, should there be any type of conflict between the city and the county, this isn't one item that goes directly to court. The statute has a mechanism involved for kind of intragovernmental disputes, especially in the realms of annexation, where there are multiple points where the city and county come together to try to resolve any dispute even before both attorneys set foot inside a courtroom. There is a alternative dispute resolution process that the state has established in these terms. So that's the process going forward. But I think it's legally prudent that we preserve our arguments and our rights and preserve the record.
I don't see anything, especially before the next meeting. I don't see anything that hasn't already been stated, especially in Adam's letter that he presented which was a summary, I guess, of our positions.
Would you be doing this in person or again by letter?
No, we will also be appearing in person at the city commission and making the similar presentation. Sarah would be making the presentation on behalf of the county, and therefore preserving it on the record as part of the city's deliberations. We would have to still preserve that as part of the record.
So it'll be oral as well as written?
Yes.
Okay.
So I know what you're saying. It's already been said. Do we have to go again, right? But I feel if they feel we need to go again.
Well, I don't mind sending whoever.
Yeah, to go again, just because we don't have a firm agreement. There's nothing yet for the preservation of Bulow. So I just want to continue on. And that would be my preference, to send someone again, and be sensitive to the whole situation. But to send someone again to let them know our concerns again.
Well, that's what we're doing, right?
Right?
That's what we're doing. Sarah's
I didn't know if he was thinking maybe just because it's been done previously that it's covered, or.
No, just that there wasn't anything else
Right.
coming. I think the annexation on the east sides would warrant some. Is that where you're talking about comp issues are rising?
No, the east side there are comprehensive plan issues regarding both, but the legal annexation arguments are stronger on the east side, because we do have those questions regarding whether the petitions are complete. They're legally, as far as the criteria for annexation on the west side, that's an area where they're not strong arguments, but the west side has comprehensive plan issues, so that falls on lines because they're part and parcel. The annexation is also including land use map amendments. So we would be raising preserving our rights and preserving our arguments in regards to the west side as it relates to land use.
Yeah, the west side is clearly it's the number of units that we've approved in the PUD, which is under, if they annex, it's going to be 4 times that. It goes from 500 to 2,000. So that's land use issues. So.
So everyone in consensus to send a representative again for this issue?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Representatives.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want to just send someone without your knowledge that we were sent. I know I can hear it. All right. And the second thing, this is something that's been brought to my attention, and it's one of the projects I want to prepare for 2026, mainly because by the time the year rolls around, it is a foregone conclusion that we will have one new county commissioner. It's a foregone conclusion. We have one commissioner who's not running for re-election, so there will be somebody new. And it has been brought to my attention that I believe the last time we had new commissioners come on board, that some of the commissioners did not feel that they received an adequate, for lack of a better term, onboarding process. So one of the things I want to try to implement is a process where I can work with the new commissioners, but also concurrently give those of you that are on the dais a refresher on your roles as commissioners. What are your obligations? What are your responsibilities? Giving you a kind of a lesson on your, what is your relationship vis-a-vis your staff, your administration, kind of your role as policymakers, the comparison of what the branches of government when it comes to county work, that you guys kind of sit as legislators, and you have administration which sits as the executive. So I want to try to establish and create such a program to help the new commissioner when that person comes on board. But while I'm at it, also give those of you that are on board now an opportunity to get a refresher course on those, so that we can kind of, my experience from other places I have run, this is the tightest ship I have ever been involved in, but it never hurts to get the ship to be even tighter. And it's just in my experience that the fact that, we're not a charter county. A lot of places, cities have charters which kind of explicitly separate and enumerate those kind of responsibilities of the elected officials. Here, you kind of have to, you guys have to dig through state statutes to find those, because we're not a charter county. So this is, I think it's the job of the legal department to help you guys, guide you through the muddied waters of Florida statutes, to make those things clear. So that's one of the things I'll be working on this year, to help you guys get a better understanding of what your roles and responsibilities are as county commissioners. And the third one, we recently were served with a federal lawsuit. It's a pro se lawsuit. It's the plaintiff is Eric Josie. He's previously filed an action against us in state court. He's been challenging the interlocal agreement, which has transferred the governance of the Carver Center. His state court claim was dismissed, and he never refiled the action. Now he's trying to get a second bite of the apple in federal court. We're going to be filing a motion to dismiss, and we're pretty confident that the motion to dismiss will be granted. But just wanted to give you an update. It's a pro se federal matter, and we're going to be proceeding forward in federal court for that. So that is all the update I've got for now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Item 10C, community outreach. This is a 30-minute time period been allocated for public comment for items not on the agenda. Each speaker is allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the board.
David Eckert, Cali del Sur, but I'm speaking for Steve Davis, who had to go to a hospital board meeting. In 2024, the Corps of Engineers was ready to include 1.7 miles of Painters Hill in the federal project, but Flagler County indicated to the Corps of Engineers that public access and parking could not be provided in Painters Hill, ending the federal interest in the reach. Since then, 49 property owners, including Steve, have built seawalls on their own expense to protect their properties. The county was harmed, Steve was harmed, and Steve didn't even know about this until long after the CSR study was published. Reference to these facts is buried on page 50-50 in the main reports from a factual support standpoint. Second topic, there are people in the county that believe that the county is politically bullied by the city of Palm Coast because of its overwhelming voter base. The effective result is a budget subsidy from the county to Palm Coast in many areas of service. The sheriff noted in his negotiations with the county this last year that 80% of the calls for service are in Palm Coast, but their contract with Flagler County falls at least $6 million per year short of the cost to provide these police services. This is not the only subsidy. There are others imbalances in fire and other areas. City services should be paid for by the ad valorem taxes in the city, even if those rates have to be raised. County services should only be paying for ad valorem rates or impacting the ad valorem rates sufficient to fund county required services. This is not occurring. The county has too high of an ad valorem tax rate where certain cities have too low of a rate. The county surplus is used to subsidize constitutional departments' services to cities rather than in the unincorporated areas of the county. This is a very, very important topic relative to the shortness of funding that we have for infrastructure. The school subsidy is much larger, but required by law. We do not argue, or Steve does not argue, with any of that point. But note that it is in danger if the county falls short of protecting the shoreline and putting in the infrastructure. The BOCC must address the risk for beach management failures. Any candidates for positions in city or county commissions must be asked again and again and again during 2026 for their commitments as to whether they will fund infrastructure. Thank you. Thank you for Steve.
Steve Jr.
Oh, boy.
Here they are.
My favorite mayor. They do that on purpose.
Now you know I got this blanket.
Mayor
It's
Emmett,
cold here.
Beverly Beach, right? Simply want to show you our gratitude and our thanks for allowing us to join with the county into our building official duties, right? It is absolutely the best thing that ever happened to our little town. We have been with you before. I know who you are. You're great people. We may argue certain things, but what we get on, don't we? And you know me, I always like to enlighten the meetings, you know? And we sat here all morning waiting to say thank you. The building official, Mr. Mengel, he did a great job. The very first meeting we had, he had his whole staff there. And every question that we could throw at them and they could throw back at us was answered. And it made the transition so smooth. And now I can go back to my town, and on the 17th, we're going to vote to accept the county as our building official. And my vice mayor would love to talk.
No, not really. I thank you very much for your help, and I believe it brings a degree of professionalism to our town, in which we can't offer that all the time. But this is one of the biggest projects that we're going to have in our town.
Yeah.
We can't allow any more houses. This is 52 houses, peanuts to you, but to us, big time. And we're going to give this to Adam today. And I thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So cold.
Your commitment shown by staying here the whole meeting just to say that.
Through the freezing.
I have to say, I love their city. I love their leadership. I have adored them since the day I moved here, and it never changes. He always offers me a cup of coffee, and I don't take him up on it either.
Mr. Royer.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. Yes, I'm glad to live next to the Beverly Beach as neighbors. They are definitely a nice community, and they enhance the beach. I would just like to step on Greg's comment earlier. He mentioned like develop a war team. I kind of agree with him. I was fortunate enough to serve in the Navy and the fire department, and we had positions like damage control on the ship. I mean, if you don't get damage control right, we're sinking. So I think that's the level we have to bring the beach project to. Because, and not only the beach, we have the river issues, we have flood issues. I think we have to bring that all together. And I think we also have to bring in the emergency management involved in these discussions, because when disaster does hit, sometimes we're falling behind the ball because not all the elements understand what areas are going to flood. And a good example, when I lived south of here, we were adjacent to the St. John River. And then when we would have hurricanes south of us, our water would rise 3 to 4 days later. And we would prepare for that. And we would have to get the sandbags, and we would go down there as neighbors and try to protect the homes that were going to see the river rise. And then the other thing I want to mention is when we do prepare for that, I would like to see the increases of sandbags be issued out. Right now I think they limit it to 10. Well, sometimes you can't even get your garage done, with 10 bags. So that would be another increase that maybe is going to work together with the corporations of the cities and stuff to get that increased. And also provide, I would think the prisoners that do fill the sandbags, when I was down in my area south of here earlier, I had to demand to get sand to our area at one point. And lucky for me, being a retired firefighter, I reached out right to the emergency management position because I couldn't get it from the county, which was Volusia County at the time. So luckily, when I rang the phone, the gentleman I needed to talk to picked the phone up. And when I told him the area, he actually said, "Oh, I was there 7 years ago. Oh, I know your area very well. Yeah, you need sand." And he got me sand. And I mean, he brought sand. I mean, I couldn't believe, he got more sand than it laid there for a couple of years. I mean, we got so much sand. But anyway, that's about it. It's just, thank you, Greg, for everything you did. You tried your best. And I hope that the new year will bring another hopefully another successful signature where we can get all these agreements signed. You get the sand replenishment agreement with the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments for community outreach? No? All right, we're going to close community outreach, bring it back to the board. Ms. Richardson, who's already packing up to leave.
My blanket. My blanket is my hero.
Freezing in here for those watching
I'm in the
on
cold
TV.
spot. I just want to wish everybody, for those who are celebrating the Hanukkah holiday, happy Hanukkah today and the 8 days to follow, 7 days left. I also want to wish everybody a happy and Merry Christmas. It's been a year of growth for me personally. I am looking forward to getting deeper and more knowledgeable about everything going on. It's not an easy thing to just walk in and here I am. But the staff that works here are probably the most amazing people I've met in my life. I work with people for a living, and these people work like servants. I've never seen anybody so more gracious and respectful of people as much as this staff does. So I have to recommend thank you to the administration for running such a wonderful group of people, hiring people that care, and I really appreciate you. Our breakfast showed me how much, I hope, how many hours I put into it, that how much you mean to me. So thank you to the staff for all they do. I have the directors here, but I hope everybody that works for the county gets to hear that because it doesn't happen everywhere. The clerk's office and everybody's just fabulous. So I know it sounds stupid and silly, but it's really not. It's from my heart, so thank you. And I bless us all to have a healthy holiday and a great new year. We deserve it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Hanson.
Yeah, first I'd like to thank Ms. Petito for putting on a great picnic over the weekend. And it was a kind of unique one for us because you got everybody to come. I mean, you got the constitutionals all got to come. So it was a great day, and it was a lot of people there. There were a lot of people there. And I know Andy was there and Leanne was there, and it was really a good show. I appreciate that greatly. It's just a small way to reward our crew, our staff, who do, as you said, is a remarkable job. That was great. So just that, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
On this end,
your party
Merry
jacket
Christmas
on.
and Happy Holidays to everybody. Right, it is the appropriate time to acknowledge and thank everybody for the work that they've done. You enjoy some time off for the holidays, so use that to recharge and and catch back up on, if your cell's a little low, if your battery's a little drained, it's time to recharge during the holidays. We've seen things can happen in a heartbeat, so hug your loved ones close and enjoy that time with them. Ms. Petito and her staff, thank you very much for the picnic. That was great. It was, I think, a warm gesture to include the constitutionals. I think they enjoyed their time out there as well. And it was a great location. I think showcasing another one of the parks was a great idea, and it really fit the event, maybe even more so than Princess Place. There was plenty of parking as it was, so good job to everybody. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. See you in January.
Okay. I have a couple, I'll go quick. SB 636, I think we need a plan to roll that out beyond just our representatives. So maybe perhaps we can get an FAQ, get a resolution together, get it out to county administrators in coastal counties, have our lobbyists do that, try to push it further so there's momentum, but also give them an FAQ that points and highlights to how that's going to help their community as well. Because we can't just be us in the boat rowing on this one. So maybe that's something, a takeaway for our lobbyists. You can work with them in the new year on.
That's a great idea. Great idea.
Happy birthday, Reagan Hansen. If your dad won't do it, I'll do it for you. It's a monumental.
She turns 50 today.
Okay, you said that. I didn't. That's right.
40. You got it wrong, Greg. It's 40.
It's 40. No. Then next thing, Brick Road. St. John's County had on their agenda their plans for expansion of roads, and some of it came into the 204 down to 305 corridor. They're pulling it off their agenda. I gave Ms. Petito some of that, and I'll talk to her about it later, but one of the things that you were not here for, Mr. Rodriguez, was there was a commitment to protect the Brick Road now 4 years ago. We finally got a map filed, not a lot of movement on it, but I think based on what I saw and read, we need to get some movement on what we wanted to do with the interlocal with Palm Coast. So going into the new year, I think that needs to be refreshed and a priority, the interlocal on the Brick Road, so that we know we're going to have some conservation efforts done in that area for that road. So I'm going to give that as a takeaway for legal to get refreshed on it. And
Just as an update, we have a first draft of the interlocal of the Brick Road. And I think
this works great.
I know we sent it, have we sent it already to Palm Coast for their review? Yeah, so Palm Coast has it now for their review.
Yeah, because it's a work in progress. I've been trying to figure out, what's coming in around the Brick Road, and so I think it's just important. Then two things, Bull Creek. I heard from the lease that it's now moved out to May. Is there a delay? Or if you can check on it, only because the state funds I thought expire in March of 26, but I want to make sure that we just don't cross the threshold. And I know you're doing that, but.
Excuse me, with regard to that, we just have to expend the funds by the end of March. It doesn't mean that the facility has to be.
Yeah,
ready to move in.
The tenants waiting and trying to figure out where they store stuff and everything, so that we can give them a hard no that it'll be May. That'd be good, so they can plan for that. I remembered this and I thought about it, and before I forget it, we had a takeaway for HR with the bonus plan. Do you guys remember the funds that we set aside and said, come back with a plan? Are we coming back with a plan? Okay, I want to make sure we're coming back with a plan. And then finally, I know Mr. Dance was out there. We went to the softball group Velocity yesterday. They showed us some issues. And so I encourage everybody who hasn't met with him to meet with him and just look. They're asking for some upgrades and some advances to the ball fields. There are some issues that need to be addressed, but imagine it's going to take a concerted effort to talk about funding that in the plan. So there's torn nets and electrical boxes falling off and everything. So, Ms. Petito, I took a list and I'll get it out to you. There's some things that'll be like quick hits that we can get done, but overall, if you haven't met with them, you might want to meet with them and go over some of their issues out there. just letting everybody know, so, because that's probably something we really need to concentrate on out there. Even just from a risk perspective, there were some issues with maintenance. That's it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, fa la la la. And
Madam Chairman, I move we adjourn.
oh, God bless. Amen. We're adjourned.
So do I.